Han Li's Wuxia Adventures. Chapter 799, Healing Pill. Duan Wudao's injuries were the most serious. His sealed door spirit was cut in half by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's facial expression looked ice-cold now. He used the 9 winds technique and threw his clones at Duan Wudao. Di Ling looked at Duan Wudao but didn't help him. He was a member of the East Sea Dragon Palace and Duan Wudao joined Jade Heaven. The only thing they had in common was Lin Feng. At other times, Duan Wudao and Di Ling were enemies. A terrifying firmament intent invaded the atmosphere. Di Ling condensed as much intent as he could. If Lin Feng attacked Duan Wudao, then Di Ling could also use his strongest attack against Lin Feng. How great would it be if Lin Feng and Duan Wudao would die together? "Don't worry, just focus," shouted Yun Fei Yang. Di Ling was too sly. Yun Fei Yang wouldn't allow him to use Duan Wudao as bait. Bzzzzz. The ancient bell resonated and its sound waves rolled towards Di Ling. The gigantic bell was moving with incredible speed. Again, Di Ling felt paralyzed. "Now I'm your opponent," said Yun Fei Yang while running towards Di Ling. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. He borrowed the force of the earth and fused it with the ancient bell, making it resonate even louder. Di Ling thought the earth and sky were collapsing. He wanted to go attack Lin Feng from behind, but now he couldn't. He became strong as well, thought Di Ling, pulling a long face. Back then, Yun Fei Yang wasn't that weak, ending in the 10 top best cultivators of the great competition. But he was still far from matching Di Ling's strength. Yun Fei Yang became stronger, coupled with the power of the ancient bell. He could hold his own against Di Ling, even though he received instructions from the outstanding teachers at the East Sea Dragon Palace. Amongst the 10 top cultivators of the great competition, everyone had seemingly made significant progress. Duan Wudao was now being assaulted by the 9 clones. He couldn't see where the actual Lin Feng was. He already used all his skills, now he could only rely on his own physical strength to resist Lin Feng. "Seal!" shouted Duan Wudao furiously, releasing terrifying sealed door intent, hoping to seal Lin Feng's clones. Boom boom kacha. The clones' hands moved, attacking the sealed door intent and cracking it. At the same time, a terrifying sword chi launched at Duan Wudao. Arg! Duan Wudao roared loudly, an infinite amount of imperial chi surrounded him. The earth and sky shook as if a million beasts were rampaging. Could the emblematic beast of Jade Heaven be the Qilin, thought Lin Feng. Fearlessly, Lin Feng's sword intent turned into a myriad of terrifying rays of light, all darting towards Duan Wudao and piercing through the imperial chi and lacerating the Qilins. Boom boom boom. Lin Feng punched the atmosphere in Duan Wudao's direction, making him groan furiously. Blood was splashing everywhere. If Lin Feng's punches reached him, he would die. Go back. In a flash, some punches crossed the atmosphere towards Lin Feng. The Qilins were roaring furiously, they wanted to devour Lin Feng. Those punches were terrifying and filled with deadly energies. Lin Feng didn't have time to carry out another attack, so he moved like the wind, disappearing from where he was. Huang Feng and Duan Wudao's facial expressions looked hideous. They were standing close to each other and staring at Lin Feng and his friends. He thought that it would be easy to steal Jun Mo's golden robe, but it didn't turn out his way. The fight itself was monstrously difficult. Huang Feng and the others had turned out to be weaker than Lin Feng and his friends. Lin Feng alone was able to cope with Di Ling and Duan Wudao. Jun Mo could deal with Huang Feng. Huang Fu Long was able to cope with Ao Jiao. Ao Jiao and Huang Fu Long stopped fighting. It looked like they wouldn't be able to steal the treasures this time. "My friends, I have a healing pill here that we can share," said Lin Feng. Flames started burning around his body and subtle sounds spread in the air. His sword chi was increasingly powerful. Lin Feng's body was entirely surrounded by whistling sword and fire energy. The young leaders of Jade Heaven and the East Sea Dragon Palace as well as Duan Wudao and Di Ling wished they could have benefited from it. Lin Feng's friends wanted to know what he was planning when they sensed all that energy. They looked excited, their eyes were twinkling. Those bastards had come to steal their treasures and lost completely. Plus, Lin Feng had a healing pill so they had nothing to fear. Hee, let me join in, shouted Huang Fu Long furiously. A dragon appeared from his body and rose up. A terrifying energy shot out from the dragon axe, it seemed like it could destroy the entire world. Jun Mo Shi's energy of righteousness invaded the sky, his terrifying pure chi was reflecting on his golden robe out from which an incredibly dazzling light emerged. I'll go first, said Yun Fei Yang, laughing out loud. He jumped forwards and the force of the earth started rolling in waves. It seemed like Mother Earth was furious, the force was rolling like a tsunami. His pure chi continued crashing onto his bell which kept releasing terrifying energies. Dong! The ancient bell had invaded the entire atmosphere and the sound waves it emitted made the entire area vibrate. The energies were so powerful that the four enemies felt like suffocating. I'm second, said Jun Mo Shi with a more serious tone. A million golden rays of light streaked across the sky at the four enemies. Firmament. Seal. Roar. The four enemies' facial expressions looked hideous. The firmament and sealed door energies invaded the atmosphere. A flood dragon from Ao Jiao's body, Huang Feng continued releasing monumental amounts of imperial qi which collided with the golden qi, emitting crackling sounds. Blood splashed everywhere. Die, shouted Huang Fu Long furiously. The golden lights hadn't disappeared yet as Huang Fu Long jumped up in the sky and released an extremely brutal strength which he condensed into his dragon axe. His real dragon kept roaring loudly as his terrifying axe and the real dragon plummeted towards the enemies. Boom boom boom. The four merciless enemies' energies crashed into the real dragon and the gigantic dragon axe. To the side, the light from a black lotus appeared. Lin Feng condensed all his pure qi into that black lotus, and at the same time, released all his sword qi. Instantly, the entire world was invaded by death and void. Ah! Huang Feng had no choice, he needed to protect himself. In a flash, terrifying waves of imperial qi appeared in front of him. Ao Jiao spat out a small dragon image which turned into a dragon to block the attacks. The black lotus was going to swallow them as the atmosphere was filled with black flames. Duan Wudao hid behind Huang Feng, they were all turning black from the glow of the fire. Di Ling was in the worst position, he initially wanted to block the black lotus with his firmament energies but Huang Fu Long's axe destroyed it, then the black lotus fell on him. His forearm burnt and fell off. In the middle of the fire, two pitch-black pupils appeared. Lin Feng appeared in front of the four enemies, their hearts pounded painfully. Let's go. Ao Jiao turned into a flood dragon and used all his strength to escape. Huang Feng used all of his imperial qi to block the attacks while Duan Wudao followed suit as well. Di Ling wasn't not able to retreat, Lin Feng blocked him with a punch. Even if you join the East Sea Dragon Palace, I will kill you, said Lin Feng. A hand filled with deadly energies crashed onto Di Ling's, cracking it wide open. Di Ling finally died. Chapter 800, The Omniscience of the Stars, Roar. Huang Fu Long roared furiously, it sounded like he didn't want to finish yet. He wanted to throw his dragon axe at them from the distance. Huang Fu Long, shouted Lin Feng. Huang Fu Long turned his head and asked, are we not chasing them? No need, we will meet them again, said Lin Feng while shaking his head. Ao Jiao and Huang Feng were the leaders of Jade Heaven and the East Sea Dragon Palace groups. Lin Feng watched as the three silhouettes in the horizon left discontent. It was unfortunate that they hadn't managed to kill all of them, otherwise Lin Feng would be overjoyed. Lin Feng broke the healing pill and shared it with the others. They all took the medicine, and as expected, they recovered quickly. Jun Mo Shi and Yun Fei Yang knew that Lin Feng used that same medicine back during that crucial moment of the great competition. Lin Feng, your Black Lotus is even more terrifying. If you used it against me, I would die without contest, said Jun Mo Shi, smiling wryly and shaking his head. Lin Feng's power was really monstrous. Yep, even with my ancient bell, I would die in a flash, agreed Yun Fei Yang nodding. They sensed Lin Feng's Black Lotus as it struck and it left an impression. How terrifying. Nothing could stop it, not even Ao Jiao's dragon and Huang Feng's boundless imperial qi. They had all almost burnt as well. What are you guys talking about? Ha! Lin Feng would never do you any harm, giggled Huang Fu Long. Yun Fei Yang and Jun Mo Shi laughed as well. Lin Feng's fire was becoming even stronger. Lin Feng and his three friends were safe in the mysterious world if they stayed together. Lin Feng smiled indifferently while looking at the blood pool. There were bubbles and foam on the surface. Tang Yu came out of the pool, a bright red light was twinkling on her body. Yu, how are you? Asked Lin Feng. He had already bathed in the blood pool and became stronger. His muscles and blood vessels were so strong that he could kill people of the 8th Xian Qi layer without making pure Qi flow. Coupled with his Haruka's strength, he could easily destroy ordinary cultivators of the 9th Xian Qi layer. Besides, his spirit had changed after the bath. He was convinced that if he had another opportunity to absorb essence, it would be extremely beneficial for his spirit. That blood pool doesn't really suit me, but my muscles and flesh still became stronger, replied Tang Yu. That's already good then. At least, it will be even more difficult for you to be injured by ordinary attacks, said Lin Feng while smiling. The blood pool couldn't suit everybody to the fullest. I found this in the blood pool as well, said Tang Yu, opening the palm of her hand and revealing a dazzling golden light. Tang Yu had a scale in her hand. It was large and possessed an incredible qi. It's a dragon scale. Lin Feng was surprised. That dragon scale was releasing an incredible qi. It does look like a dragon scale, so maybe it belonged to the Zun cultivator, said Tang Yu. Lin Feng was captivated. In his previous world, dragons were legendary creatures. In the world of cultivation, there were many incredible creatures. Maybe someday he would be able to see a real dragon. Huang Fu Long, it's for you, said Tang Yu, throwing the scale at Huang Fu Long. He caught it and looked at it. He then smiled and said, there is a great power in that thing, but it would be a waste for me to keep it, I wouldn't know how to use it. Lin Feng, keep it and maybe you'll be able to use it someday. Lin Feng accepted it. He gave it a quick glance and put it away. He didn't think about it too much. Just like Huang Fu Long said, it seemed to contain an incredible strength, but if he didn't know how to use it then it was just a waste. Huang Fu Long, what do you intend to do with the blood pool? Asked Lin Feng. It might have belonged to his ancestor, so Huang Fu Long could actually decide how to deal with it. There is still more strength inside and it was made by an extremely strong cultivator. I don't want to waste that power, said Huang Fu Long. Lin Feng nodded. Huang Fu Long was quite careless and usually adopted a detached attitude, but he seemed to give this thought. 3 palaces have been found, so there is still one left. They hadn't heard anything about the great emperor's grave, so they had to find the 4th underground palace. Look there, said Tang Yu, pointing behind Lin Feng. Lin Feng and the others turned around and saw some starlights in the horizon. Lin Feng immediately recognized that they were Yu Tianji's. Has Yu Tianji found something? Let's go and see. Lin Feng jumped in that direction, the others immediately following him. Wait. I'm not done speaking, shouted Huang Fu Long, but the others were already too far away. He had thought, if we find the 4 palaces and use their teachings, we might find the emperor's grave, but nothing is guaranteed. Huang Fu Long's silhouette flickered as he hurried to catch up with the others. In the distance, Yu Tianji was standing at the entrance of a palace. There were many corpses in front of him and the starlights in his eyes looked dazzling. Yu Tianji turned around, bowed in front of the entrance and whispered, "Thank you, I am infinitely grateful. I will always follow my principles and walk on the right path." Yu Tianji then stomped on the ground and the palace started collapsing on itself, unable to appear again. Yu Tianji raised his head and looked at the starlights disappearing. He then whispered, "I've always believed in the stars. It has been 1,000 years, was this fate?" The 4 Zun cultivators' palaces were found, so the great emperor's grave would likely be found as well, but by whom? Yu Tianji wanted the omniscience of the stars, but he couldn't obtain it yet. He was just a cultivator of the Xian Qi layer. Could the great emperor be immortal? Why did he have a grave then? Yu Tianji took out a star disk and put his hand on it. Even though he wasn't omniscient, his star skills were incredibly powerful. At least, he could estimate an approximate location of the great emperor's grave. The great bear's lights were reflecting on the star disk. 7 rays of light started revolving, 4 of them stopped on the 4 locations where the Zun cultivators' palaces were. The 3 others kept moving, surprising Yu Tianji. Banging! His star disk had broken. Yu Tianji shook his head and smiled wryly. His silhouette flickered, now he could only rely on luck. The 4 Zun cultivators' palaces were found, so he was convinced that the great emperor's grave would appear very soon. Chapter 801, Palace Hologram. Lin Feng and his friends arrived at the palace to find a pile of corpses on the ground. "How tranquil," whispered Lin Feng. "The 4th palace has already been found," said Jun Emoshi. Huang Fulong and Yun Fei Yang nodded, "Yes, someone must have obtained great treasures." As expected. Lin Feng noted that the 4 palaces were found and now wondered where the great emperor's palaces was. Hee. "I think I can find the great emperor's grave," said Huang Fulong, giggling. Instantly, the others looked at him. Could he really find it? "I learnt many things from the Zun cultivator at the pool. Nobody knows where his grave is, but it has to be on a vein of earth where dragon qi is extremely dense. The 4 Zun cultivators' palaces are on veins of earth where dragon qi is. Now that they have all been found, the dragon qi is much denser than before, so I can use my dragon blood spirit to sense where the densest dragon qi is," said Huang Fulong, still giggling. The fact that the dragon qi was initially not perceptible meant that the great emperor's palace had to be discovered first. Everything was preordained fate. "Can you sense the dragon qi now?" asked Lin Feng to Huang Fulong. Huang Fulong's eyes were twinkling while pointing in one direction, that is where the dragon qi is the densest. The place that Huang Fulong pointed was in the middle of the 4 palaces. Many had already found out about the palaces, so there was no time to waste. They all went in that direction, finding nothing on their way. The center of the region was a vast and desolate area, devoid of qi and corpses. That place seemed so uninteresting that nobody would have wanted to stop there. Could the great emperor of legends be underground, thought Lin Feng. There is nothing there, but if the great emperor is here, it has to be underground. Huang Fulong, we are following your instincts, said Lin Feng. Huang Fulong nodded, his silhouette flickered and he pressed himself against the ground. He could sense the dragon qi the best if he got closer to the ground. Lin Feng and his friends continued to move around but saw no one. The strong cultivators who came to the mysterious world were looking for treasure, nothing else. The dragon qi is incredibly dense, said Huang Fulong, smiling. His senses wouldn't betray when it came to sensing dragon energy. If the grave really was at the place where the dragon qi was the densest, then they were very close. What would happen if they found his grave? Maybe, finding the great emperor's grave would lead to their deaths. Maybe the great emperor wanted them to receive his teachings, or maybe he didn't want to be found at all. Regardless, the great emperor's grave definitely contained some amazing treasures. He buried his people with him, so it was easy to believe that he buried his treasures as well. What a powerful dragon qi, said Huang Fulong, walking slower and slower. He was walking around slowly, step by step. Huang Fulong stopped, raised his head and looked around. There was nothing. There were some white clouds in the sky and only dust on the ground. However, Huang Fulong was convinced there would be something there. You also found the place, someone said. Lin Feng and his friends looked at the person coming towards them. TT was Yu Tianji. He had also found the place, but he was frowning because nothing happened there. Nothing happened. I have the strange impression that the great emperor's grave might be here, but I've been turning around for a while and haven't seen anything. It's a boundless and desolate place, said Yu Tianji before continuing. Of course, I could be mistaken. I have the same impression as you, so we can't be mistaken, said Huang Fulong. His blood was flowing quickly as if it were boiling. How could I be mistaken? There's a very powerful dragon qi here, just like you said. If the great emperor's grave really exists, it must be here. I'm going underground to see, said Huang Fulong while taking down his dragon axe. He stomped onto the ground, making it shake and crack. Then he dove in. No use, I already tried that. Yu Tianji shook his head. As expected, Huang Fulong came back out after a while and looked annoyed. He explored the depths of the area but found nothing. The dragon qi is so thick and dense, what could be the cause? Could it be that my ancestor lied to me, cursed Huang Fulong in a low voice. He felt very uncomfortable, his qi was revolving intensely. Huang Fulong. Lin Feng looked astonished, he was staring at Huang Fulong. Everybody else was looking at him as well. What's wrong? Asked Huang Fulong, surprised to see everyone look at him. He scratched his head in a confused way. Why were they looking at him? On your body, they all stared at Huang Fulong's body. There was a drawing on it. There was a magnificent pattern on his body, the pattern of a gigantic palace. The hologram of a palace was on Huang Fulong's body. What is going on? Lin Feng and his friend's pupils shrank. They inspected it closer but didn't see anything. However, the hologram on his body looked real. Release the strength of your blood spirit and the dragon qi, said Lin Feng as if he had thought of something. Okay, said Huang Fulong, nodding. Even though he didn't understand what Lin Feng meant, he still obeyed and released the strength of his blood spirit and qi. His qi was incredibly powerful, it seemed like dragons were furiously roaring inside. The hologram became more and more distinct. That palace was vast, majestic, it seemed endless. Is that a palace or a grave? Asked Lin Feng to the others. The hologram was becoming more clear. Chapter 802, The Atmosphere is Collapsing. Why would the hologram have the shape of a palace? Lin Feng and the others' heart was pounding. At that moment, Lin Feng's pupils shrank. He was gazing in the distance and noticed a gigantic palace forming. The illusion was in suspension and slowly appearing. It looked majestic, imposing, like an emperor's palace, containing some qi of righteousness. Is it an illusion? No one could figure it out. No wonder nobody found the emperor's grave before, they had to have real dragon energy to find it. The palace seemed to be a place sealed away from the mysterious world. The great emperor's grave. Finally, they found the emperor's grave, it had to be his palace. They flew all over the mysterious world and now they finally found the great emperor's grave, probably for the first time in 1,000 years. Lin Feng and his friends weren't the only ones to notice, there were many others who were observing in the distance. The reflection of the palace was twinkling in their eyes. They felt excited and nervous at the same time. Was that the great emperor's grave? Dong! In a flash, the whole crowd saw a gigantic cloud of foaming qi condensing into a palace. The atmosphere began shaking, the wind became abrasive and chaotic rays of light shot towards the palace. At that moment, everybody stopped moving and looked at the same thing. There were even some in the sky who were blown away by the furious wind. No matter where one was, if they neared the palace, they would suddenly be far away again. Boom! Sand splashed all around in the storm. The earth and the sky were trembling. Lin Feng and his friends were in the middle of that storm. They could sense an immense pressure, so strong they felt suffocated. "That palace is burying everything," whispered Lin Feng. The palace was enveloping everybody, it seemed like they were going to be buried. "Let us go," said Lin Feng. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered and ran towards the palace. The others immediately followed him. Lin Feng wasn't the only one, it was everyone's dream to find the palace. They all flew towards the palace. Had the great emperor's grave finally appeared? Did that vast palace contain the most amazing treasures? Because Lin Feng and his friends were already so close to the palace, they were the first ones to arrive. They felt oppressed in front of such a huge and impressive palace. The great and respectful emperor had buried himself in this palace-like coffin. Even dead, he remained dignified. "Let's go and see if there is an entrance somewhere." They all began looking around the palace for an entrance. "Here." Huang Fulong pointed at a golden dragon. That golden dragon looked full of vitality, its mouth was large enough for several people to enter. "Lin Feng, are we going in or not?" asked Huang Fulong. He seemed hesitant, after all, nobody knew if the palace was dangerous or not. "Let's see if there aren't any other entrances," said Lin Feng, decided not to enter immediately. Very quickly, he narrowed his eyes and found 9 dragon statues, all of them had their mouths open. Lin Feng and the others were perplexed, they couldn't determine which doors were dangerous, if any. "What do you think?" Lin Feng asked Yu Tianji. Yu Tianji could use the power of the stars, so Lin Feng assumed he could analyze things better than others. "Let's wait. Perhaps others will be able to determine it," replied Yu Tianji. Lin Feng didn't want to take the risk carelessly. More and more were appearing in the area. They obviously realized that the dragon mouths were entrances, but they also hesitated, should they enter or not. "I'll take the risk, if nobody else enters, I will. If I manage to choose correctly I'll get the treasures," someone said next to Lin Feng, and entered a dragon's mouth. "Ah!" A horrible shriek spread in the air. Everybody were suddenly relieved that they hadn't chosen to enter. Boom boom boom, catcha. The atmosphere seemed to be collapsing, the ground was shaking, waves of sands and dust were rolling in the air as a gloomy cloud enveloped everything. It seemed like the world was turning upside down. Ka-a-ee-ee-ee. A strident sound spread in the air, piercing through people's eardrums. A huge crack appeared in the ground. How scary. What is going on, thought everyone with their hearts pounding. After the emperor's palace appeared, the atmosphere began trembling and everything turned into chaos. A terrifying death chi had invaded the atmosphere. "Are we all going to be buried in the mysterious world?" thought Yu Tianji, gazing into the distance. Deadly chi was rising and enveloping the atmosphere. "Look, what's that?" someone shouted. Many glittering, translucent, little spears appeared on the horizon. They were dazzling and contained a terrifying chi. Intent and abstruse crystals. Lin Feng and the others narrowed their eyes. In a flash, Lin Feng jumped into the sky. He shook his hands and dazzling crystals appeared. Intent immediately emerged from the crystals. Lin Feng looked solemn, as expected, they were intent crystals. So many intent crystals, everyone was excited. The wind storm brought intent crystals towards them. Boom boom boom. Terrifying rays of energy invaded the atmosphere. Everybody began flying around to grab the crystals. Even cultivators of the Tian Qi layer would benefit from them. But what everyone wanted the most were abstruse crystals. If they could grab such crystals and offer them to the respected cultivators of their sects, clans etc., then they would earn instant respect and power. Chapter 803, Jade Heaven Imperial Clan, go and grab a few to help you during your practice. Lin Feng said to the others. His friends nodded, they obviously understood their importance. Gotcha. The sounds in the atmosphere were becoming more intense. The ground and sky were collapsing. Lin Feng frowned, that emperor really wanted to bury everyone with him. If they didn't enter the emperor's palace, they would all be exterminated with the mysterious world. Many intent and abstruse crystals were not caught by people, they blew away towards the emperor's palace and disappeared inside. They continued strength to the emperor's grave. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered here and there, he continued grabbing intent crystals. Then he said to the others, "Everybody, come back, we have to find a solution to get in the palace." They gathered together again, everybody had obtained some intent crystals it seemed. The sky was dark and apocalyptic. It's a grave, as expected, it's a grave. The emperor doesn't want to be disturbed in his grave. He just wants to annihilate us and rest in peace with him, whispered Yu Tianji. Not necessarily. Lin Feng added, with his strength, if the emperor didn't want us to find his grave, we would have never found it. He left us some clues, the imperial and dragon qi. In other words, he wanted a select few to find him. It's like Huang Fulong's ancestor who left clues for Huang Fulong. Yu Tianji nodded, that sounded very plausible. Even though the emperor was trying to destroy the mysterious world and bury everyone else with him, he wanted a few to find him. What you mean to say is that the emperor was waiting for someone to pass on his knowledge and treasures. That person must have some dragon blood and or some imperial blood, said Yu Tianji, who turned to Huang Fulong, can you understand how to enter the palace? Huang Fulong shook his head. Have you forgotten? The emperor was chased by the demoniac emperor, so the demoniac emperor may have chased him inside and destroyed the palace. Yun Fei Yang offered a different view. The demoniac emperor? Yun Tianji looked perplexed. Indeed, the demonic emperor had chased the great emperor. Let's pretend it happened like that, with means of extraordinary skills and abilities, the demonic emperor was able to enter the palace. But, it doesn't mean that we are able to enter using the same method. Said Yu Tianji, shaking his head. We can only rely on ourselves. What do you mean? Asked Lin Feng. There are 9 dragons, so maybe one of them really is an entrance, we have to think about there is an option. Maybe the emperor had offspring and that descendant is amongst us. If we find his offspring we follow them inside, explained Yu Tianji slowly. Of course, the great emperor wouldn't miss the opportunity to transmit his knowledge and treasures to his offspring. He would bury everybody in the mysterious world with him, but he would protect those who shared his blood. We have to hurry, said Lin Feng, watching the storm. Let's group into twos, Yu and I, Mo Shi and Yu Tianji, Fei Yang and Huang Fulong. If anyone finds the entrance, call out. Okay, said Yu Tianji. They really needed to hurry. Tang Yu and Lin Feng headed towards the second dragon, there were already many who gathered there. They were all staring at the mouth, wondering if they could enter or not. Lin Feng glanced at the crowd and saw one person in particular. They wore a purple golden robe with a dragon pattern on it. Lin Feng threw himself at him with incredible speed. They were astonished, Lin Feng was so impulsive. 5 fingers turned into golden claws as the chant of the dragon sounded. Lin Feng released some sword chi and condensed level 6 sword intended into one finger. A metallic sound clanked in the air as the member of the East Sea Dragon Palace emitted a horrible shriek. His arm was hanging loose and he was in agony. Lin Feng lunged forward to grab his opponent, he wanted to escape. Unfortunately, he wasn't as fast as Lin Feng. Lin Feng held him by the neck and choked him. It seemed like his veins were going to explode, he looked terrified. How brutal. The crowd was speechless watching Lin Feng. He wanted to kill a member of the East Sea Dragon Palace. They watched as Lin Feng jumped towards the mouth of the dragon and put the cultivator inside. At the same time, he released a terrifying sword chi to block the entry. If you don't enter, I'll kill you. A terrifying sword chi moved towards that person, an infinite sword light invaded the atmosphere and that person's face paled. If that sword energy reached him, he would definitely die. "Ah, bastard," shouted that person and threw himself into the mouth of the dragon. Ah, a terrifying strength came out and that person gave a horrible shriek. How brutal. Lin Feng used him to see if it was safe to enter. "Let's go," said Lin Feng to Tang Yu, leaving with incredible. Others also started to follow Lin Feng and his friends. Yun Fei Yang and Huang Fu Long arrived at the fifth entrance. There were others there as well. A great battle was taking place. With the storm already so oppressive, how could they still have time to fight? Yun Fei Yang felt less safe as he approached. There was a group of people killing everybody else that arrived. Someone looked at them with disdain. It was Huang Feng and Duan Wu Dao. They were the ones who were killing mercilessly. Very quickly, the battle continued and more cultivators died. Those who remained alive seemed to be those who joined hands. "Leave," Huang Feng said coldly to Yun Fei Yang. Immediately after that, his imperial robe fluttered in the wind as he threw himself into the mouth of the dragon. No deadly chi emerged and no horrible shriek either. The Jade Heaven Imperial Clan, Yu Tianji had guessed it. Chapter 804, The Grave. Those people were from the Jade Heaven Imperial Clan and were moving fast. It wasn't long before they all went into the dragon's mouth. Huang Fu Long and Yun Fei Yang looked at each other. Huang Fu Long said, "Go tell the others, I'll stay here to guard the entrance." "Okay." Yun Fei Yang's silhouette flickered and left to go and tell his friends where the entrance was. The storm was getting closer but he still had a little bit of time. Boom boom boom. A loud sound resonated. Huang Fu Long was startled at the entrance. After the Jade Heaven Imperial Clan entered, he only saw a magnificent and dazzling light come out of the dragon's mouth. Immediately after, the dragon's statue became dazzling and golden, its gigantic mouth slowly started closing itself. The only entrance would be closed. Oh no, thought Huang Fu Long nervous. That was the only entrance they had found. Everyone from the Jade Heaven Imperial Clan had already entered. What if the other entrances were death traps? They would all die outside, crushed by the storm. Roar! Huang Fu Long roared loudly and threw himself into the mouth. He put his hands up as to hold the dragon's mouth up and prevent it from closing. Even though Huang Fu Long was strong, he wasn't able to prevent the gigantic dragon mouth from closing. "Stop!" shouted Huang Fu Long. It seemed like a dragon appeared around his body. He was holding the top of the mouth with both hands, using his monstrous strength to prevent the mouth from closing any more than it had already. Roar! He released an incredible amount of blood chi. He became so flushed that it looked like he was going to explode. Mustering all his strength, he finally managed to slow it down, but the rumbling sounds were spreading in the air. "Can't you hurry?" shouted Huang Fu Long furiously. His veins popped out from the struggle. When they saw Huang Fu Long holding open the mouth and all the corpses on the ground, they seemed to understand something. "It's an entrance." They immediately jumped into the entrance. Even though the mouth of the dragon became smaller, it could still accommodate a few people. "We're in," said someone inside. It wasn't long before others came by and took advantage of Huang Fu Long's situation. "Who can help me here?" "People from your sects and clans can come in as well," shouted Huang Fu Long loudly. The door was still closing itself. At that point one already had to their head to fit in. They looked at Huang Fu Long and grinned hideously. All of a sudden, someone attacked Huang Fu Long. The attack reached Huang Fu Long and made him groan with pain, but he still held the entrance open. He just yelled, "Bastard!" Arg! A terrifying chi was rolled in the atmosphere. It seemed like a dragon was chanting. However, the opponent already entered the grave without paying attention to Huang Fu Long. As long as they could enter the grave, they were happy. They didn't care about the others who would die outside. That way, everything in the grave would be theirs. People continued to enter the grave. Before entering the grave, they were all courteous and friendly because they hoped he wouldn't just close the door in front of them. And each time, after entering the grave, they punched Huang Fulong or attacked him with a sinister smile on their face. After a while, Huang Fulong was struggling. Blood spilled out of his mouth and he was kneeling on the ground. Roar! His blood was boiling, his dragon was still visible around his body. His knees were being crushed on the ground, but as before, his two hands held open the dragon's mouth. His eyes were filled with determination. If he gave up, his friends would die in the storm. At that moment, one could only crouch to get into the dragon's mouth. Some other people appeared, this time from Tianqi and more precisely from the Tianxian snowy peak. "Help me," said Huang Fulong, looking at Tianqi Shui and the others. Blood was still spilling out of his mouth as he asked for the help. Tianqi Shui's eyes were twinkling, she looked hesitant. "Help him," said Han Qiuyu, who was next to Tianqi Shui. A heaven book spirit appeared from behind him as he rushed over to Huang Fulong and protected him. He didn't possess physical strength, but he could still protect Huang Fulong from attacks. "Let's guard him from attacks," shouted Han Qiuyu to the other members of Tianqi. They all nodded and walked into the dragon mouth, but nobody helped Huang Fulong hold it open. "Go into the grave everyone, obtaining the emperor's treasures matters most for Tianqi," said Bai Li Shi. After that, he glanced at Huang Fulong and entered the grave. Tianqi didn't help because they were more worried about time, they had to hurry in the grave. Not many stayed back to help Huang Fulong. After thinking for a few seconds, Tianqi Shui entered the grave as well. Bai Li Shi was right, they had to become stronger for Tianqi. Besides, Tianqi Shui envied Lin Feng, Huang Fulong and the others. She was the pure and holy woman of Tianqi, but now that status wasn't as resplendent as before. She was selfish and egoistic. A few people from Tianqi decided to stay and help him. They were touched by Huang Fulong, so they guarded silently. Even though they weren't immediately entering the grave, they would keep their honor and wait until Huang Fulong couldn't hold on anymore. Then they would enter. Huang Fulong, Jun Mo Shi and Yu Tianji came back. They were panicked to see his condition. They hurried inside and helped Huang Fulong hold the mouth open. 9 dragons and it was the 5th one, bastard, cursed Yu Tianji. His heart was filled with hatred. The storm outside was getting worse. "We can't hold out for much longer, where are they?" asked Jun Mo Shi, looking nervous. Others came by, but it wasn't Lin Feng, Ao Jiao, Duan Wuya etc. They silently looked at the grave and bowed respectfully before entering the grave. "Be careful," said Yu Tianji. He didn't trust anyone, he feared they would attack as soon as they entered. As expected, after they entered the grave, they laughed coldly, piercing to the bones. It wasn't long before Yunfei Yang, Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu arrived. Because of the storm, Yunfei Yang hadn't found them easily. "Hurry up and get inside," shouted Yunfei Yang. He moved to the mouth and lifted it up a little bit. A gloomy and deadly qi reflected on the stars as waves of qi rolled towards them. Yu Tianji released an indestructible star to block the attack. Someone gave a horrible shriek as they were destroyed by the gloomy and deadly qi, but then it was blocked as it crashed on his star. Surprisingly, they weren't stopped by Yu Tianji. Lin Feng understood what Yu Tianji planned. The 3 of them turned into stars and entered the mouth of the dragon. They pulled Huang Fulong and Jun Mo Shi back as they flew in. Boom boom boom. A loud sound resonated as the dragon's mouth closed itself to everyone outside. Once inside they crossed a long corridor filled with dragon qi. Very quickly, they arrived on a dragon path, and then finally the great emperor's grave. Chapter 805, path of truth. Those from Jade Heaven Imperial Palace were the first to enter the palace. Somewhere in the palace, the young and strong cultivators of the Jade Heaven Imperial clan had all stopped. Why? How? Huang Feng was upset and pulled a long face. In his hands was a golden map. The map was so dazzling that it was difficult to say what it was made of. It even contained ancient, imperial qi. Back then, the great emperor was chased by the demoniac emperor. He escaped and entered a world without an exit to leave his blood in this world. This map is sealed by the Jade Heaven Imperial clan and contains memories belonging to our ancestors, amongst which there is an incredible book called the Jade Scriptures. Unfortunately, our ancestor was not strong enough back when, so he couldn't transmit the memories to us. That's why he created the scriptures, which have been passed down from generation to generation. The Jade Heaven Imperial clan members know that they have to look for the Jade Heaven tomb, where they would find the Jade Scriptures, which would enable them to conquer the world. Huang Feng thought it out for a moment and he came up with a plausible explanation. Now, 1,000 years have passed and the Jade Heaven Imperial clan has been quiet. From generation to generation, we have been searching for the Jade Heaven tomb. When we find it, I want all the members of Peer clan to benefit from those scriptures. But it seems things have changed since back when the demoniac emperor chased the great emperor. There was a great war, so the map of the palace isn't accurate anymore. He understood that the last one who entered the palace was the demoniac emperor. After their great battle some paths became blocked. There were holes in walls and so on. The palace was falling into ruins. What should we do? Asked Duan Wudao. Huang Feng remained silent for a few seconds and said, everybody separate into 5 groups, remember that our goal is to find the Jade Heaven Palace, you can leave the rest, said Huang Feng. The Jade Heaven Palace is a holy place for the Jade Heaven Imperial Palace. It also used to be where the Jade Heaven Imperial Palace's people lived. Besides all of that, there are the ancient Jade Scriptures. In the continent of the 9 clouds, becoming a monstrously strong cultivator was the only condition to be part of an imperial family, and only members of imperial families could use advanced skills. If the Jade Heaven Imperial clan managed to find their ancient Jade Scriptures, they would become infinitely stronger. They would conquer the Ganyu region, enter the holy city and become as prestigious, splendid, and as glorious as they used to be. The Jade Heaven people were feeling all-conquering. In 1,000 years, they were the first ones to enter their ancestors' grave. Lin Feng and the others looked around after they entered. Things didn't look as domineering and majestic as they thought, instead it looked like ruins. Everybody seemed to have similar disappointments. There has been a great war here, people thought. Lin Feng and his friends were the only ones who knew what was going on. They knew that back then, the great emperor was chased by the demoniac emperor. So they immediately understood what happened here after a first glance. Oh my! There are intent crystals everywhere, someone shouted. They were breaking walls and finding twinkling stones everywhere, a terrifying strength exuded from them. Nobody was worried about fighting for the crystals because there were stones everywhere, the walls were made of intent stones. Everyone was mining with a frenzy, they needed those intent stones for when they broke through to the Tian Qi layer. Then they would have amazing effects, or they could be traded for other amazing items. Intent stones were precious treasures for people of the Tian Qi layer and below. However, for extremely strong cultivators, they were just ordinary stones. You guys can go ahead. Lin Feng said to the people of Tian Qi. If someday Lin Feng became the leader of Tian Qi, he had to make sure it was powerful. They should take as much as they could now so future cultivators could benefit. Okay, said the others while nodding. They all started gathering intent stones. Huang Fulong, how do you feel? Lin Feng and Tang Yu both took out some healing pills for Huang Fulong's severe injuries. Even after a few healing pills he wouldn't recover completely. I'm okay, go ahead and pick some intent crystals, take some for me as well, said Huang Fulong, smiling in a free and natural way. Don't worry, we're in the great emperor's palace. To us, intent crystals are precious treasures, but for the great emperor, they are ordinary stones. There must be treasures much more valuable than those in here. Indeed, they were in the great emperor's palace, so how could it lack intent crystals? There were probably monstrously powerful items as well. Hehe, you're right, but it would be better to have some, so why not seize the opportunity now? I've never used such good items. And even if I can't use them, I can sell them. Huang Fu Long was giggling. He made an effort to collect some of the crystals, ignoring his injuries. That guy, said Lin Feng, smiling and shaking his head. Even now he only thought about his friends, they were true friends. They all began picking intent crystals as well. Huang Fu Long was right, why not seize that opportunity? Even if those crystals were nothing for the great emperor, they were treasures to them. At that moment, everyone was busy picking those treasures without thinking about anything else. Whenever someone felt like they had had enough, they would leave towards the inside of the palace. Weren't there even more amazing treasures awaiting for them in other places of the palace? Lin Feng and his friends soon started walking deeper into the palace. Everybody was hunting for treasures, and quite a few found abstruse crystals. Apart from intent and abstruse crystals, others found some extremely powerful ingredients and weapons, while others found pictures. The walls of the palace had those mysterious veins for which an energy had been flowing for 1,000 years. Lin Feng and friends come across a hall with a door that looked old and simple. At the top, there was writing, Path of Truth. Ask questions and understand, that was where the great emperor sought the truth, said Lin Feng. While opening the door, a strident sound was heard. Inside the hall, there was a precipice and a few statues which looked alive. Chapter 806, Eternal One, Boom. They stared at the statues. Their brains felt like they were going to explode, as if something had placing a huge pressure on them. Their souls were even shaking, their entire body seemed like it was going to explode. How scary, whispered Lin Feng. He stopped looking at them and moved towards the center of the hall. There were 4 statues and a few scriptures on the back wall. Lin Feng raised his head again, this time with sharp lights twinkling in his eyes. He stared at the statue. He suddenly felt suffocated, his body couldn't stop shaking, he couldn't breathe anymore, his throat was burning. The statues had an extraordinary intent. Are those the great emperor's statues? Lin Feng, Jun Mo Shi, Yun Fei Yang, Tang Yu Yu and Huang Fu Long were all there. Yu Tianji decided to explore alone. The first statue held a sword in its hand, it looked like it despised the entire world. Its facial expression could shake the entire world while its eyes defied both human and divine laws. As Lin Feng looked at that statue, involuntarily, his level 6 sword intent emerged. However, when it neared the statue, it was immediately destroyed and vanished without leaving trace. Lin Feng's sword was extremely weak in front of the emperor's statue. The energy contained in the sword of the statue seemed to be infinite. If the statue wanted to kill him, it could do it in the blink of an eye. The Supreme Sword Emperor, reigning over the entire continent, afraid of nobody. No one wants to be his enemy because he can kill them with one sword attack. He stands high above the ordinary world and looks down on it. I put this statue here for the glory of swords and to help those who seek the truth on the path of sword cultivation. A few words were carved in the back. Even after 1,000 years, those words still looked distinct. Everybody could sense an incredible energy emerging from the words. They suddenly felt incredibly powerful, they were imagining themselves as the extremely strong cultivators from ancient times. The second statue was an incredibly beautiful woman. One couldn't look at her without falling in love at first. However, she wasn't beautiful in a vulgar way, she looked like a noble woman whom one wanted to respect. That woman looked so noble, she would definitely be reigning over the world if she existed, whispered Lin Feng. Lin Feng and his friends read the text behind the statue, Shi Huang, so many men have come to court her with the hopes to marry her. The emperor also had the wish to marry her, that would have been his greatest joy. Unfortunately, after becoming emperor, she aged and wasn't as beautiful anymore. She practiced cultivation diligently without caring about anything else. She chose loneliness for the sake of cultivation. Nobody knows when she is going to become an empress. Unfortunately, even if she does, she won't have the beauty of her youth. That text was filled with sorrow. Lin Feng didn't understand why she decided to singularly practice cultivation. He also didn't understand the meaning of the following sentence. She died, so how could she become an empress? Finally, the last sentence was just as fishy, the beauty of her youth. Nobody understood the text. Could cultivators use an incredible power before dying to reincarnate and continue practicing cultivation? Lin Feng couldn't understand such things, he was too weak to compare with the emperor. The emperor was almost a deity. Lin Feng turned to the third statue and shivered, that statue looked familiar. Even though it was a statue, it diffused rays of light as if it was moving. It looked like a demon and a Buddha at the same time. The 9 rotations of the Haruka. Lin Feng suddenly remembered why it was so familiar. Lin Feng's strength of the Harukas began rotating on its own, causing Lin Feng to shake. Could the owner of the statue have anything to do with the Haruka and its 9 rotations? Lin Feng turned around the statue and read the description. 3 lives sovereign is incredible and very mysterious. Using his body, he combined evil and good, 1 body turned into 3 and 3 bodies are 1. Thus the creation of the incredible skill, 3 lives skill, 3 lives, 3 people, and 3 bodies which have their own life. If none of them dies, then the 3 lives deity is invincible. In our vast and wonderful world, the 3 lives skill is the most particular skill I've ever seen. Lin Feng's heart started pounding, 3 lives skill. Buddha, a demon and a regular person. Is that the strength contained in the 9 rotations of the Haruka? Could the 9 rotations of the Haruka have been created by the ancestor who created the 3 lives skill? Lin Feng's thoughts were chaotic. If someday he could acquire the 3 lives skill and turn into 3, he would become invincible. Besides, the 3 lives sovereign had the title, sovereign were the titles of emperor and sovereign equal. Or could only extremely powerful emperors give the title of sovereign to others? Lin Feng didn't understand these things. The emperor placed the 4 statues there to borrow their incredible strength, he used to consult them. After reading the scriptures, one could see that the emperor feared those statues. Lin Feng looked at the last statue, it was the most ordinary one with nothing particular. From an aesthetics perspective, one could notice an incredible pride. One could see that the material world held no substance by looking in its eyes, those 2 dark pupils resembled a demon's, even the vault of heaven could be covered by their darkness. That statue was ego, whoever offended it would pay with blood. A demon. Lin Feng's pupils shrank, that was demon intent. Despising the vault of heaven, smiling slyly, that unruly deity wanted to step on earth and crush it fearlessly. Demoniac Emperor. Lin Feng suddenly remembered those 2 words. According to the legend, the demoniac emperor chased the great emperor and killed him. Lin Feng was startled, it seemed like his spirit was shaking suddenly. His heavenly book spirit was acting up after remaining calm for so long. Lin Feng frowned, why was the statue exciting his book spirit? Lin Feng looked at the description behind the statue, continent of the 9 clouds, the eternal one. Peerless, named the demoniac emperor, a myriad of people are terrified by him. He is the first incomplete emperor, but can kill other emperors. Continent of the 9 clouds, the eternal one. Lin Feng shivered. Lin Feng became excited, his heart was pounding as he imagined himself as a heroic cultivator. That was the real demoniac emperor, nobody would dare offend him. Chapter 807, Magic Understanding, the Supreme Sword Emperor, Shi Huang, the 3 lives sovereign, the demoniac emperor. I can't control my body when I look at those statues, my strength and energies flow chaotically, said Huang Fulong surprised. How powerful! How did the great emperor create such powerful statues? I feel the same. If I look at them for too long, I have the impression that I'm going insane, nodded Yunfei Yang. Shi Huang already died, but what about the others? A possibility is that the great emperor made the statues himself in accordance with what he heard and saw. If they were real cultivators, we wouldn't be able to look at them, their terrifying intent would have killed us, said Jun Mo Shi. Everybody nodded as if they understood something. Indeed, only the sword intent of the Supreme Sword Emperor could kill them, but it was only a statue. I wish we could be as strong as them someday, said Huang Fulong, sounding impatient. Emperors were incredible beings, even the emperor of an empire of average quality was nothing compared to them. Though, they had never heard of a real emperor in the Ganyu region. That kind of cultivator was extremely rare, they were almost almighty. We will. The great emperor also started weak, but step by step, he practiced and became stronger, said Lin Feng, making Huang Fulong smile. He nodded at Lin Feng and said, indeed, maybe someday I'll be an emperor too, and you guys too. Everybody smiled in a radiant way, dreaming of becoming an emperor. I am going to try and understand the statues. If you think you need them, feel free to do so as well. Otherwise, hurry up and go search elsewhere so you can find something useful for yourself. Lin Feng didn't want to leave too quickly. Everyone can go, I'm staying with you, said Tang Yu, acting detached. Jun Mo Shi looked at both of them and smiled, alright, we three will go elsewhere to try our luck with treasures. Yunfei Yang and Huang Fulong didn't mind. If Tang Yu stayed with Lin Feng, she could wake him up if something happened. With Lin Feng's strength, only a handful of people would attack him. They closed the door as they left. Lin Feng smiled at Tang Yu, even though those 4 statues have nothing to do with your cultivation, you can try to understand some things from them. Who knows? It may be beneficial. I know, nodded Tang Yu. Then Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and meditated in front of the Supreme Sword Emperor's statue. He slowly closed his eyes and visualized the Supreme Sword Emperor holding his sword in one hand and assaulting the vaults of heaven. Supreme Sword Emperor, no limit. Lin Feng released a deadly qi and saw a gigantic sword in his thoughts. It was falling down from the sky as the entire universe became filled with sword qi. The sword qi was becoming increasingly intense. A terrifying, endless sword qi fell down onto the hall, it was becoming more and more powerful. Tang Yu was staring at Lin Feng, looking captivated. Her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. Lin Feng's power of understanding was incredible. He had already been able to understand the supreme sword qi. Tang Yu wanted to participate too, but it was impossible because Lin Feng's sword was too powerful. She could only stand in the distance and watch Lin Feng. She didn't know that Lin Feng's power of understanding was incredible and that the teaching of the 3 Zun cultivators taught him a lot. He learnt the sword formula skill and was able to visualize the 81 patterns. It seemed like there were many mysterious veins in his head, as if someone was there, dancing with a sword. Lin Feng's brain and heart became one, there was only sword energy and nothing else. He lost track of time. The supreme sword was filled with deadly qi, its sword qi could destroy the earth. Its energy was like 1,000,000 tsunamis falling on the earth at the same time. A heavy sound resonated as someone arrived in front of the room. They opened the door but shouted in surprise when they sensed the terrifying sword qi. There must be treasures, what a powerful sword qi. That person's heart was pounding. Tang Yu closed the door again with a heavy sound. She wanted Lin Feng to practice in peace, she could feel his sword intent rising. Crrr, the supreme sword qi became more intense, it seemed like it could annihilate anything. It was emitting crackling sounds in the air as the statue began crumbling. Soon after, it turned into ashes and disappeared without leaving a trace. The supreme sword chi and intent disappeared with the statue. He leveled up. Tang Yuyu's heart was pounding. Lin Feng opened his eyes, looking proud and majestic. Sirrr, Lin Feng clenched his fists and smiled. He didn't break through to the Tian Chi layer yet, but his sword intent was already level 7. People of the same level couldn't defeat him anymore. After breaking through to the Tian Chi layer, others probably still couldn't defeat him. Lin Feng stood up and walked toward Shi Huang's statue. He stared deep into her eyes and then walked towards the Three Lives Sovereign. He sat down cross-legged in front of him. Lin Feng emptied his heart as the strength of the Harukas started rotating with incredible speed. At the same time, in Lin Feng's brain, a large battle between the Buddha and demon appeared. The owner of the palace used tricks to create the statues, but even though they're not the real deal, they can still stir up my strength of the Harukas, thought Lin Feng. The strength of the Harukas continued flowing through his body and muscles, his strength was amplifying. Lin Feng couldn't clearly understand the Three Lives scriptures at that moment. He pinpointed what connected the strength of the Harukas and the Three Lives skills. He was very curious and wanted to know more though. Unfortunately, learning Emperor skills was too difficult. Even if Lin Feng could only understand a tiny part of the sovereign scriptures, he would already become stronger. Chapter 808, Prometheus' Path. The strength of the Haruka continued rotating as Lin Feng's body emitted a dazzling light containing an incredible strength. Good and evil were fusing together. In Lin Feng's head, Buddha and the demon were facing each other in a gigantic field. In the past, Lin Feng used to think that Buddha and the demon were enemies locked in a never-ending battle. But now, Lin Feng realized that the Buddha and the demon could fuse together to create a three-body entity. Lin Feng continued his visualizations, which seemed to be extremely beneficial to him. Finally, after a long time, the strength of the Haruka stopped rotating. Lin Feng opened his eyes as both good and evil lights twinkled in his eyes. Haruka's strength 9,000 rotations. Now, using only my physical strength I can kill people at the top of the Xian Qi layer, whispered Lin Feng looking excited. The great emperor created those statues, but just like real ones, they could bring him great benefits. He studied one and his sword intent leveled up to 7, then he studied another one was now able to make his Haruka's strength revolve 9,000 times. Boom boom boom. The hall started shaking as if it was about to collapse. They weren't the only ones who could sense it, everybody in the palace could sense it. The entire emperor's palace was shaking. What was happening? Boom boom boom. Terrifying rumbling sounds spread in the air, those sounds were piercing through people's eardrums. The palace continued trembling as the statues in front of Lin Feng were collapsing. Kacha. Shi Huang and the Three Lives Sovereign statues broke first and turned into ashes. The demoniac emperor's statue showed some cracks. Lin Feng looked at the statue and visualized the Eternal One again, how glorious. Lin Feng wanted to reach the clouds too, maybe he would someday. Kacha. Another sound resonated as the demoniac emperor's statue broke as well. It then became calm in the hall again as the heavy door opened slowly. There were some people outside. The leader of the group looked at Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu then said, "Did you steal the treasures?" They had just entered the room but could sense the terrifying sword chi, they felt like they were suffocating. He came with a few friends to face Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu. Lin Feng turned his head looking calm, he then looked at the carvings on the wall again. He sighed and said, "The 4 statues broke already, we will never learn from them again." After that, he started bombarding the wall with sword chi, rumbling sounds spread in the air as the scriptures on the wall disappeared. "You destroyed some of the treasures." The crowd entering the room was stupefied. They suddenly jumped forwards and threw themselves at Lin Feng. "Piss off," shouted Lin Feng furiously. He raised his fist as a gigantic hand appeared, the atmosphere was shaking as he smashed the opponent and crushed him against the wall. That person immediately crashed against the wall and blood splashed everywhere. Then they fell down on the ground, looking hurt. How can that guy be so strong? One punch and he had crippled that person's cultivation. Lin Feng probably stole some precious treasures belonging to the great emperor, otherwise he wouldn't be this strong. His physical strength was way too terrifying. Lin Feng began walking with Tang Yuyu, they didn't even glance at the others as they left. Their faces looked hideous, but they opened the way and let them leave the hall. "Kill him," shouted someone. A few strong cultivators released energies but a terrifying sword energy emerged in the air and suffocated them. That terrifying sword chi was supreme, it could destroy the sky and the earth. They were so scared that they stopped moving and just watched Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu leave. At that moment, there were people everywhere in the palace and many had obtained great treasures. Lin Feng didn't try to look for treasures, instead he walked into the depths of the palace to find the emperor's grave. In the great emperor's palace, there were many treasures but he had already spent a lot of time in it. If he tried to accumulate treasures he could miss some better opportunities. Besides, Lin Feng felt very content after seeing the 4 emperor statues. There were countless broken walls in the palace now, more than before because of everyone mining for crystals. Most halls were inaccessible because they were in ruin. After a while, Tang Yuyu and Lin Feng arrived in a space with many people. There was a magnificent 5-colored bridge with dragons on both sides, they seemed to be roaring furiously. Those who were on the other side of the bridge were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, but something seemed to be preventing them from coming over. Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu were astonished by the scenery. The dragon illusions were releasing an incredible chi. Entering that chi would probably be deadly, they would be crushed in the blink of an eye. There were 5 colors on that bridge which contained incredible abstruse energy, sword chi, flames, ice, all in an infinite quantities. That bridge contains abstruse crystals. Lin Feng was astonished. They could have picked them up easily if there was only one or a few abstruse crystals, but there were so many that the energy they contained was way too terrifying. Lin Feng looked at the desolate bridge and felt incredibly heroic, as if he didn't care about the abstruse energy. Lin Feng punched the atmosphere and created his own path. Enough, I refuse to be taken in by fallacies, someone couldn't stand it anymore and walked towards the bridge. It might lead to the great emperor's grave and incredible treasures, possibly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A terrifying pure chi started whistling as they walked towards the bridge, all eyes were on him. However, after 5 meters, his body started looking distorted. He couldn't handle the abstruse energy as he gave a horrible shriek and his body exploded. Permithaw's bridge, do you need a particular noble chi to cross it? A lot of people pulled a long face. They had seen others cross, but they all had honorable chi, such as imperial or dragon chi. At that moment, a dragon roared and someone with a dragon robe walked onto the bridge. The chi from the dragons on each side momentarily stopped as they were escorted to Permithaw. The creator of this palace has really thought about everything. Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling. He had also seen this specificity when Huang Fu Long originally found the palace's location. Maybe the people from Jade Heaven Imperial clan were destined for this place. Imperial Chi and Dragon Chi are both noble types of Chi. I have Buddha Chi, is it a noble Chi? Whispered Lin Feng. He slowly walked towards the bridge, he had to try. Chapter 809, Jade Heaven's Palace. In Lin Feng's previous world, monarchs, dragons and the Buddhas were respected. Was this the same in the world of cultivation? The crowd looked at Lin Feng nervously. Most of the people who had crossed the bridge were from Jade Heaven or the East Sea Dragon Palace. There were a few people with precious items containing noble chi which allowed them to cross. Maybe Lin Feng also had a precious item. Tang Yuyu looked at Lin Feng with concern, but Lin Feng looked calm. Buddha's lights were twinkling around Lin Feng's body, and suddenly thousands of rays of light started twinkling. Lin Feng's body became dazzling to the eyes, his entire body was golden. Buddha's light, now the crowd knew what he was trying. No wonder Lin Feng was confident, he was protected by Buddha. Thousands of lights illuminated the bridge as the dragons were roaring, their dragon chi enveloped Lin Feng's body and protected him from the abstruse energy. Lin Feng didn't cross the bridge though, he moved back and nodded at Tang Yu, who immediately understood. She smiled and followed him. Lin Feng turned his head around and glanced at the crowd. He then turned back to speak to some people. Follow me, if you can stay in my Buddha's lights you will be safe. If I cannot protect you all, wait for me and I will come back. The crowd was confused. Who was Lin Feng talking to? 5-6 people's silhouettes flickered and appeared on the bridge. They were all from Tianqi and they all knew that Lin Feng was talking to them. Another person appeared and lowered their head while walking towards Lin Feng. She didn't dare look at him, for it was the dignified Tianqi Shui. Was I talking to you? Asked Lin Feng in an indifferent way, making her feel very nervous. They all protected Huang Fu Long when we entered the grave and we came in together. They all have the ability to become leaders in Tianqi. You don't care about other people, now I don't care about you, so piss off, said Lin Feng indifferently. Tianqi Shui looked desperate. Don't let him leave, he can help us cross the bridge, someone shouted from the crowd. Lin Feng's Buddha's lights covered a wide area so they could follow him. Many silhouettes flickered, they wanted to prevent Lin Feng from crossing. As they neared, one of them said, "Bring us with you." Lin Feng glanced at them and said, "Do you really think that I'm a Buddha and possess compassion? Fuck off. If you don't bring us over, we'll kill you." Someone decided to threaten Lin Feng. Behind him were many cultivators getting ready to fight. But, they wanted to see how things played out first. Buddhism is based on karma, so I will help you become a Buddhist and achieve Paramitha. Lin Feng jumped forwards and released millions of resplendent lights. Monstrous rumbling sound spread in the air as a gigantic golden hand appeared, which fell down towards that person. The chi was terrifying, the atmosphere was vibrating and kept resonating. That Buddha's hand contained a terrifying physical strength. That person's facial expression suddenly changed as they retreated. The Buddha's hand gained speed as a loud bang resonated. Blood splashed everywhere, their vital organs were crushed and their chi disappeared. That was Lin Feng's special way of carrying out a baptism ritual. What a terrifying physical strength. People were shaking and shivering. That Buddha's hand seemed to contain an infinite power. How much physical strength did it contain? Even a cultivator at the top of the 9th Xian Qi layer would run scared from that attack. Anyone else want to convert themselves to Buddhism? Lin Feng glanced at the crowd. Immediately, everybody moved back. Lin Feng was too scary, why had they never heard of him? When Lin Feng saw that people were moving back, he grabbed Tang Yu's hand as millions of golden rays of light enveloped Tang Yu and the others behind her. The light turned into a gigantic bubble protecting them with its noble chi. The dragon roared and released energies to protect Lin Feng and his friends. As he crossed the bridge, Lin Feng could sense the abstruse energy all around him, but his heart remained beating at a normal pace. The crowd watched Lin Feng leave, they had mixed feelings of admiration and jealousy. Many of them regretted not having such a friend. It was probable that the great emperor's grave was on the other side, now they would miss out on the treasures. Somewhere else at that moment, in a big hall, a dazzling golden light was shining. Millions of magnificent rays of light were twinkling. There were 3 groups of people. A group from Jade Heaven were on one side and composed the largest number of people. Unsurprisingly, they were at the Jade Grave, after all the Jade Emperor was their ancestor. Each time someone from the Jade Heaven Imperial clan entered the Jade Grave, the clan would become so much stronger. Every 100 years, the Jade Heaven's young cultivators who had almost broken through to the Tian Qi layer were pressured by their clan to prepare for the Jade Grave. The East Sea Dragon Palace were facing them, they also had noble chi which allowed them to cross the bridge. They seized this opportunity to follow the Jade Heaven group. They didn't want Jade Heaven to get all the treasures for themselves even if it was the tomb of their ancestor. Apart from those two groups, there was a group comprised of four, Jun Mo Shi, Yun Fei Yang, Huang Fu Long and Yu Tian Ji. They also crossed the bridge. Even though they were outnumbered, they were monstrously strong. No one attacked them because they knew there would be heavy casualties. Therefore, the three groups were at a standstill. On a wall next to them, a sign in all capital letters read, Jade Emperor's Palace. There was a half-broken golden door, maybe it held incredible treasures. I have an idea, but I don't know if people from Jade Heaven will agree or not. Duan Wuya was scheming. Huang Feng looked at him, talk. Everybody came here to find treasures and it hasn't been easy to find the grave. I think people from the East Sea Dragon Palace and Jade Heaven should join hands to kill those four and then take the Emperor's treasures together. What do you think? Duan Wuya had a resplendent smile on his face. He then glanced at Jun Mo Shi and the others in an evil way. People from Jade Heaven were laughing inside. How could they trust him? Share the Emperor's treasure? Impossible. If one group obtained them, the others would have to die. But killing Jun Mo Shi and the others first wasn't a bad idea. For Jade Heaven's people, the Jade Emperor's treasures had to be theirs only because they belonged to their clan. Alright, I agree, said Huang Feng nodding. Duan Wuya smiled slyly. The two groups looked at Jun Mo Shi and the others and said, let's kill them first. Chapter 8:10 Undisclosed information. Jun Mo Shi and his friends possessed precious treasures. If they were killed then everyone would obtain even more treasures. Jade Heaven and the East Sea Dragon Palace hated each other, but they both gained to benefit from this brief cooperation. A dozen people looked at Jun Mo Shi and his friends, their eyes were twinkling with cold lights. Jun Mo Shi released some chi while staring back at the crowd. Die! Terrifying rays of sword chi appeared. Jun Mo Shi and his friends gathered and released their own terrifying chi. Roar! Huang Fu Long became furious with his dragon axe streaking across the sky. A dragon appeared and it was filled with terrifying dragon chi. Let me fight. Yun Fei Yang rang his ancient bell as it then flew over towards their opponents, emitting unceasing buzzing sounds in the atmosphere. Yu Tianji released his indestructible stars, a star disk appeared in his hand as the moon and stars fused together. Die! A terrifying deadly chi condensed, Yu Tianji's hand was dazzling as starlight shot out at the opponents. The opponents separated to the sides in order to avoid the attack. The group of opponents had adopted a chaotic fighting formation, not fighting together anymore. Lin Feng's friends possessed terrifying items, if the opponents acted recklessly they would probably die. Huang Feng, your people from Jade Heaven have precious treasures as well. Since I know that, there's no need to hide them anymore, let's get serious. Because both sides hated each other, they weren't fighting with their full strength. Who would want to show their full strength in front of their enemies? Ao Jiao stared back at Huang Feng with a radiant smile, he wanted to see what extraordinary item he had previously found. Don't tell Jade Heaven what to do. You guys from the East Sea Dragon Palace have been staring at us the whole time, so prepare yourselves. Huang Feng smiled coldly. Together, okay? Ao Jiao said while smiling indifferently. Okay, said Huang Feng nodding. A dragon scale appeared in Ao Jiao's hand, it was golden and twinkling with an incredible chi. In Huang Feng's other hand appeared a dazzling golden crown with an incredible imperial chi. This is the Jade Heaven's golden crown of the legends, Ao Jiao said while looking at Huang Feng's crown. Enough, said Huang Feng while placing the crown on his head. In a flash, his body was bathing in an incredible imperial chi which diffused a magnificent golden light all around him. I think we can immobilize them while you attack. Huang Feng recognized how strong that crown was. He pulled a long face. The East Sea Dragon Palace wanted it for themselves. Fine, said Ao Jiao with a resplendent smile, you immobilize them while I kill them, one after the other. All right. Huang Feng agreed, nodding. Immediately after, Ao Jiao's scale appeared in the air and a terrifying strength started rolling in waves in the atmosphere. It seemed like time stopped and Jun Mo Shi's body became stiff. That invisible strength seemed to place a lot of pressure on them, especially on Huang Fu Long. Ao Jiao specifically targeted Huang Fu Long's because he wanted his dragon axe. Die, shouted Huang Feng furiously. He then released a terrifying imperial qi which enveloped his body. The crown on his head became dazzling, as a sudden all-conquering sword launched at Huang Fu Long. Be careful, shouted Jun Mo Shi. The sword could annihilate anything and couldn't be dodged. Do you dare, shouted a voice as dark clouds appeared. They were filled with a terrifying demon qi which caused people to shiver and shake. A terrifying sword qi streaked across the sky. That pure sword qi could lacerate the earth and the sky. It was absolute. Huang Feng's heart was pounding. He could sense that terrifying sword qi emerging from behind Huang Fu Long. Die, shouted Huang Feng furiously. There was a terrifying imperial qi merged in with his sword qi. It had almost reached Huang Fu Long at this point. Huang Fu Long, move to the side, shouted someone in the distance. Huang Fu Long dodged away as a terrifying sword qi passed next to him. Huang Feng was frantic. What a terrifying sword qi. It seemed like his body was going to be chopped into pieces. He quickly tried to dodge. Huang Feng felt paralyzed. His crown changed into an imperial golden shield. Boom boom. An infinite amount of strength crashed onto Huang Feng's shield and he was blown away, blood splashing out of his mouth. Kacha. A cracking sound spread in the air as his shield was broken. Huang Feng crashed into the ground next to the big door. That ground was already falling apart, so it completely broke after Huang Feng crashed into it. It broke. Jade Heaven's people were stupefied. Ao Jiao was speechless as he stared at Lin Feng. What a terrifying guy. Cough cough. Huang Feng tried to stand up again. His silhouette flickered as he threw himself through the door. Ao Jiao was astonished. He wants to steal the treasures. Everybody started running towards the room, already forgetting about the fight. Their only purpose was to get the great emperor's treasures. The Jade Emperor's palace. Lin Feng raised his head and saw those huge golden letters. After Permitha's bridge, Lin Feng noticed many vast halls with magnificent golden walls. However, many of them were firmly closed. He believed they weren't strong enough to open them before, but now Lin Feng was thinking otherwise. The palace is broken everywhere, said Lin Feng while looking at the broken golden door. One just has to be strong enough to break through the rubble. Lin Feng began revolving his demon strength in his body. Lin Feng turned his head around and glanced at Huang Fu Long who was bleeding. He then said, "It's a good thing that I have thick skin. Lin Feng, let's hurry on ahead." The palace was vast. There were sculptures and paintings of dragons and phoenixes found on walls and pillars around them. Boom boom boom. Terrifying rumbling sound spread in the air as the East Sea Dragon Palace attacked the doors. However, they remained closed. He already knew where to go, shouted Ao Jiao furiously. He has the map, so that's why he knew where to go in the palace. Nobody would have thought that Huang Feng would betray them. Chapter 8:11, Stealing Treasures. There were golden dazzling lights in the hall, each and every corner contained a magnificent imperial qi as if the entire place was blessed. There were cuneiform writings on the walls which resembled a peerless skill. A silhouette stood in the hallway, resembling both a statue and a real human being. That person looked majestic and dignified. There was a crown on his head and their entire body was surrounded by a dazzling imperial qi. Jade Emperor, said Huang Feng while shivering. He entered the palace and was now in the Jade Emperor's hall, so he knew the silhouette in front of him was that of the Jade Emperor. I finally arrived. Finally, said Huang Feng, clenching his fists. He felt like exploding with excitement. He was overjoyed. He was going to receive the Jade Emperor's teachings, and the future of the Jade Heaven Imperial clan would follow his glory. They would conquer the Ganyu region and then join the Holy City and become a real imperial family. Everything would be thanks to him, Huang Feng. Huang Feng slowly walked forwards, his legs weighed heavy. The Jade Emperor's radiance was dazzling to the eyes. Huang Feng sighed and knelt down while releasing some imperial qi to attract the Jade Emperor's attention and receive his teachings. Huang Feng suddenly shook from head to foot. Just as the legend said, he was going to receive the Jade Emperor's teachings. He joined his hands together as if he was praying and prostrated 3 times. He stood up and lied down again, prostrating himself. He then knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. He really wanted to learn from the Emperor. After he knelt and kowtowed, Huang Feng couldn't contain his excitement anymore. He was going to receive the instructions of an emperor. 1 second, 10 seconds, 100 seconds, time passed slowly, but he still hadn't received the instructions of the emperor. He felt perplexed and even scared. He was using a special skill to receive the emperor's teachings that only Jade Heaven's people knew about it. Even if other groups came in, they wouldn't be able to receive the emperor's instructions without his knowledge. But why then wasn't the emperor reacting? Huang Feng looked desperate, but he still continued the ritual as before. He was now considering whether he angered the emperor somehow. Boom boom. An extremely loud sound spread in the air. The hall started shaking violently, like it was going to collapse. Huang Feng became even more desperate. Why wasn't the emperor reacting? Why? Finally, after a while, Huang Feng stood up and bowed respectfully again in front of the emperor while saying, "Honorable ancestor, I am convinced that you left some of your teachings here." After that, Huang Feng walked around to see if there were any teachings carved into the walls. There were those mysterious veins in the walls as well as scriptures, but no trace of his teachings. Huang Feng checked behind the Golden Jade Emperor and noticed some scriptures, but he couldn't understand them. It was as if they were mystical holy scriptures. What could these mysterious scriptures be saying? Huang Feng looked perplexed. He understood nothing. Huang Feng was going insane from the lack of treasures. The scriptures contained a mysterious strength and looked flamboyant. They seemed to contain all the strength and power of the heavens. But they didn't look like the emperor's writings. It was probably someone else who wrote them. Gotcha. The rumbling sounds were becoming more intense while Huang Feng became more frantic. Finally, some cracks appeared everywhere in the hall and people rushed in as everything broke apart. People from Jade Heaven, from the East Sea Dragon Palace as well as Lin Feng and his friends finally arrived. This time, they were not fighting each other because the emperor's treasures were on the line. Sooner or later, they would fight and kill each other. Nobody was willing to let Huang Feng get away with all of the treasures. Jade Heaven's people saw the emperor's silhouette inside the hall and became excited. Even after 1,000 years, cultivators still respected him. The East Sea Dragon Palace approached the emperor's silhouette more cautiously. To them the emperor was a peerless cultivator who stood above all. They didn't dare to look him straight in the eyes, but they still bowed respectfully. Lin Feng entered and glanced at the Jade Emperor's silhouette. Excitement was twinkling in his eyes. Lin Feng had already seen the 4 Zun cultivator statues and greatly benefited from them. Lin Feng considered himself as peerless, capable of facing the best cultivators in the world, even the most revered and respected ones, just as the demoniac emperor had. Lin Feng wasn't too scared of the great emperor before him. "Huang Feng," shouted Ao Jiao, "take the items out." Huang Feng was furious, but he said honestly, "I didn't get anything." "Do you really think I believe you?" Ao Jiao remained cold. It was unlikely that there was nothing in the hall. Huang Feng glanced at the crowd and realized nobody believed him. If he had obtained treasures he wouldn't be standing here arguing with Jade Heavens, he would be murdering without resistance. Huang Feng was perfectly aware that coming to the mysterious world was an incredible opportunity. Even though he was only the leader of a small group of Jade Heavens people, there were others who had already broken through to the Tian Qi layer. If he managed to obtain the Jade Emperor's instructions he would gain an advantage against them. Ao Jiao also faced similar circumstances against the 4 great dragon kings of the East Sea Dragon Palace offsprings. He needed these treasures to stand out. If you don't hand over the treasures, we'll kill you. The crowd was closing in on Huang Feng. Jade Heaven's people weren't helping him even. Lin Feng sat back and watched. To him, they were all dogs that he didn't need to fight unless he could option their treasures. So you're courting death, I will kill you and take all your treasures with force, said Ao Jiao with an ice-cold smile on his face. A flood dragon appeared around him, its chi was whistling as it shot at Huang Feng. At the same time, people from the East Sea Dragon Palace attacked at the same time. Huang Feng was still wearing his jade crown, but looked pale facing Ao Jiao's attack. The entire hall was shaking violently suddenly. Lin Feng noticed Duan Wuya sneaking behind Huang Feng while they engaged. What a sly guy, he's always plotting something evil. Duan Wuya looked over at Lin Feng, he knew how much Lin Feng hated him and thought it was a good idea to keep an eye on him. Huang Feng was being attacked from every direction, but his golden crown was twinkling. Lin Feng had previously attacked him with his sword and broke Huang Feng's aura, but now it seemed to be recovering to normal. "Fuck off," shouted Huang Feng furiously. His crown turned into gloves which he used to attack Ao Jiao. Duan Wuya took this chance to attack, the qi contained in his gourd flooded out at Huang Feng. Ah! Huang Feng gave a horrible shriek as his arms became loose and the ring he was wearing flew away. Everybody's attention focused on the ring. A terrifying qi emerged and darted towards the ring. That person wanted to steal it, no matter what or who was in their way. Lin Feng moved as well but he didn't care about the ring, instead, he targeted Huang Feng with a terrifying sword qi. "I don't care about the treasures in your ring, I'm going to make sure you die. You wanted to kill my friends and steal our treasures, now it's my turn to return the favor." Lin Feng was furious. Perhaps he could benefit from the crown anyways, so why not? Chapter 8:12, The Demoniac Emperor's Scriptures. Huang Feng stared back at Lin Feng in a cruel way. He was a young and was so close to receiving the Jade Emperor's teachings. He could already imagine himself reigning over the region, but now his dreams were collapsing. Lin Feng's sword would end him. "The Imperial Jade skill is in my ring." Huang Feng spat out these last words as his qi disappeared and he died. Duan Wuya glanced over at Lin Feng and retreated back. Lin Feng was too strong for Duan Wuya. Lin Feng's blood sword was absorbing Huang Feng's blood energy, making it stronger. After, Lin Feng put his sword away and looked at the chaotic battlefield. Did that ring really contain the Imperial Jade skill? Lin Feng didn't trust Huang Feng, he probably set a trap. "Don't worry about it, there's no need to rush for it." Lin Feng said. Jun Mo Shi and the others, who seemed to understand what he meant. They all nodded back to him. Lin Feng walked over to Tang Yu and offered her the Jade Imperial helmet while saying, "This helmet can change shape to become an offensive or a defensive weapon. Everybody else has nice items, so this one should be yours." Tang Yu's beautiful eyes twinkled back at Lin Feng. He looked at her in a gentle way with his dark pupils. "Okay." Tang Yu said while nodding and smiling. She took the helmet and inspected Huang Feng's memories. Her body flashed as the helmet turned into a golden cape which covered her back. Tang Yu looked magnificent, like a princess or even a queen. "Not bad, you look so pretty," Lin Feng said, making Tang Yu blush and lower her head. She suddenly became quite shy. "You want to steal my treasures? You're courting death." Ao Jiao suddenly became furious. The battle was becoming chaotic again as everyone tried to steal the ring. Who wouldn't go insane for his treasures, thought Lin Feng, glancing at the battle. Huang Feng's last words were too tempting. Even though he didn't scream it, everybody clearly heard him. Imperial Jade's skills were incredible, nobody doubted their worth. Everybody craved for such skills which would prove infinitely useful to them in the future. Especially the cultivators from the East Sea Dragon Palace and the Jade Heaven Imperial clan. Lin Feng remained calm, he still didn't trust Huang Feng. He looked at the emperor and sighed. After 1,000 years, the emperor was still bathing in such a potent imperial qi. The emperor would never collapse, his imperial strength was so terrifying that it seemed like he was alive. Lin Feng looked around at the golden walls and at the mysterious scriptures. They looked like the veins of the earth and contained a terrifying physical strength. Unfortunately, his cultivation level was too low and he couldn't benefit from their teachings. He turned around and looked at the back of the emperor. Very suddenly, Lin Feng's body started shaking violently. Huang Feng wasn't able to understand the scriptures on the wall, so he thought no one would acquire the emperor's secrets. Lin Feng slightly moved sideways away from the emperor, the wall seemed to pull him, step by step. It seemed like each of his steps weighed heavily. He had the impression he could barely control himself, there was buzzing sounds ringing in his head. It was now staring blankly at the wall. Lin Feng never had such a feeling before. Tang Yu and the others watched Lin Feng wander away shaking, what was happening to him? They looked at the wall, but just like Huang Feng they understood nothing. They could sense the incredible strength within the scripture, but couldn't gain anything from them. Could those be the demoniac emperor's words? They suddenly came to a conclusion: the demoniac emperor chased the Jade Emperor to this spot. But why was Lin Feng reacting that way? They didn't understand. Wait. Their pupils shrank. If they didn't understand but Lin Feng did, what did it mean? Maybe those carvings contained incredible secrets that only Lin Feng was allowed to read. They walked towards Lin Feng and approached the wall. They inspected the wall again, but no matter how they tried they couldn't understand. They looked at Lin Feng again and noticed he was shaking less violently now. However, Lin Feng was still blankly staring at the walls, his lips quivering. The demoniac emperor. The demoniac emperor. Roar. Lin Feng clenched his fists, some crackling sound spread in the air. Lin Feng's facial expression was indescribable, nobody understood what he was feeling. Tang Yu and the others had guessed right, those were the demoniac emperor's scriptures. After a long time, Lin Feng calmed down again and glanced at those who were fighting. A cold smile appeared on his face. There was a precious treasure in that ring? How ridiculous. Lin Feng was convinced that there was nothing inside. Demoniac Emperor, you died with a remaining grievance, didn't you? Sighed Lin Feng. He looked back at the crowd and said, no need to look for treasures in the ring. They looked surprised. Lin Feng sounded honest and confident. He must have realized something from the scriptures on the walls. But what had Lin Feng seen? Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and stared at the wall while slowly releasing some deadly qi. He raised his hands up and the energies condensed into a black lotus filled with deadly energy. The gloomy fire contained in the black lotus was terrifying as it flickered, seemingly lighting Lin Feng's hand on fire. The fire in Lin Feng's hand was burning faster, his qi was becoming scarier. It seemed like that fire could consume them all. What a terrifying strength. They felt like Lin Feng was practicing a skill that he was reading from the scriptures on the walls. Did the demoniac emperor's scriptures contain a skill? Chapter 8:13, Lin Feng defying laws human and divine. While Lin Feng was reading the scriptures, Ao Jiao finally managed to grab the ring. After putting it on his finger, he inspected its content and let his soul penetrate into it. Quickly, he became upset. Give me the ring. The crowd was following the ring. Ao Jiao stared at them and shouted, "Everybody stop." His voice contained the strength of a dragon, causing the entire crowd to shake. "There is nothing inside, if you don't believe me, have a look yourself," said Ao Jiao without explaining too much. He threw the ring and Duan Wuya caught it. Duan Wuya inspected the ring, as expected, Huang Feng's things and memories were all inside. Even though there were many things inside, there was nothing that belonged to the emperor. Huang Feng had died without obtaining any benefits. Of course, from the moment Huang Feng chose to enter the palace on his own, he was already doomed. There were only two possibilities: one was obtaining the emperor's treasures and possibly having the strength to defend himself, the other was finding nothing and dying once everyone broke in. "You are all members of the East Sea Dragon Palace, why would we believe you?" shouted one of the Jade Heaven cultivators furiously. Ao Jiao smiled coldly and said, "Do you think that Huang Feng would toss the ring if he had found the emperor's treasures?" That person narrowed their eyes. Ao Jiao was right, if Huang Feng really obtained the emperor's treasures he would never chance gifting them to someone else. Nobody was ready to accept the eventuality that that ring might contain nothing interesting at all. "If the emperor's treasures were really inside that ring, I would take it and leave with it already," Ao Jiao said while pulling up his sleeves, determined to continue hunting for treasures. People gradually started to believe him, turning back to Lin Feng and wondering what he found out. What a terrifying chi! A terrifying black hand was appearing in front of Lin Feng. A single glance at that hand made their hearts ache. What's going on? Has he obtained an incredible skill? The crowd couldn't understand the writings either. Where is the treasure? Where? According to the legends, there were the jade skills in the Jade Emperor's hall, so why couldn't they find them? The crowd was looking everywhere. Was the Emperor's treasures in those scriptures and holy marks? At that moment, a terrifying deadly energy had filled the air as Lin Feng stopped practicing his skill and stood up. He turned around and looked at Tang Yu and his other friends. He looked solemn. He owed his friends for everything he just learnt. If someone had attacked him while he was practicing he might have lost it all. Yu, Mo Shi, Fei Yang, Fu Long, and others, "I hope you can help me," said Lin Feng. Jun Mo Shi and the others narrowed their eyes. Lin Feng had seemingly just learnt an amazing skill. What did he need from them? Maybe it had something to do with the great emperor's treasures. "He, I will help you no matter what you need," Huang Fu Long said gleefully. He had finally recovered now. Jun Mo Shi and Yun Fei Yang nodded as well. Lin Feng was ready to go through anything and even risk his life for them, so why would they refuse? Yu Tianji looked at Lin Feng. He had been silently observing Lin Feng while he was practicing. Yu Tianji felt like something extraordinary was occurring in Lin Feng's body. "All right," Yu Tianji said indifferently, yet confidently. Everybody nodded, one after the other. Lin Feng only made a few steps and stopped in front of the emperor. He was fixedly staring at him, the incredible emperor. Even if he had died, he still looked majestic and dignified. Boom boom boom. Frightening rumbling sounds spread in the air. The emperor's statue began shaking. What was going on? A black fire filled with deadly energy was burning in Lin Feng's hand, but he was looking at the emperor so calmly. The crowd watched Lin Feng raise his hand and reach out at the emperor. The rumbling sounds became more fierce as a terrifying imperial chi attempted to block Lin Feng's hand. However, the imperial chi couldn't withstand it and was dispersed. Lin Feng's deadly energies kept moving forwards and crashed into the emperor's body, assaulting his vital organs. Boom! The crowd was astonished, their hearts were pounding painfully, their brains seemed like they were going to explode. Lin Feng was using his hand to attack the emperor's vital organs. Yu Tianji had anticipated Lin Feng's action but was still astonished. That was the Jade Emperor. He was an emperor. Even if he had already died, he was as glorious as before. He wasn't as strong as the past, but even the Jade Heaven and East Sea Dragon Palace people wouldn't look at him because of his strength. But at that moment, Lin Feng was defying their realities. He used his hand assaulted the great emperor's body. Boom! A terrifying qi invaded the entire atmosphere, imperial qi rolled about as a silhouette appeared. It looked majestic and dignified. That silhouette looked like that of an incredible and majestic emperor. People were shivering, they felt like they were going to collapse from the pressure. A pair of ice-cold-looking pupils were staring back at Lin Feng. Emperor! The crowd was aghast. Lin Feng was insane, he was purely insane. That person was the emperor, the dignified and majestic emperor. That's only an image left by the emperor when he died, it's not the real emperor. Otherwise, he would have killed Lin Feng with the blink of his eye, the crowd figured, but they respected Lin Feng for his guts to oppose such a figure. "Protect me," shouted Lin Feng while closing his eyes. The terrifying light which had been building finally penetrated into Lin Feng's brain. 50,000 souls, protect Mel. Lin Feng was struggling to oppose that light, he was lucky to have the broken spirit skill, if it was someone else their soul would have torn apart already. Chapter 8:14, Crushing the Emperor's Internal Organs. Everybody was astonished by Lin Feng's actions. Their mouths were hanging wide open and left speechless. Duan Wuya's eyes were twinkling as he watched Lin Feng. A moment before, Lin Feng shouted that he needed help from the others. It meant he was using his full strength to assault the emperor and was open for attack. If he succeeded, there might be treasures to take as well. Jade Heaven people, you see him tarnish your ancestor's corpse and yet you are fleeing? Duan Wuya said indifferently. Jade Heaven's people were conflicted, the Jade Emperor was their ancestor, he was so incredible that only the true core disciples of the sect knew about his existence. But at that moment, in front of their very eyes, Lin Feng was crushing the emperor's corpse. Stop that, someone decided to take action, they couldn't stand it anymore. Their ancestor's body was being assaulted. They all threw themselves at Lin Feng while releasing imperial qi. Their facial expressions all looked cold, even if they knew what Duan Wuya's motive was, they still wanted to respect their ancestor. Jun Mo Shi and the others released an incredible qi to protect him. Lin Feng's eyes were firmly closed and he stood motionless. His entire body was bathing in flames, at the same time he released some extremely powerful sword energy. He anticipated that his attack would be risky and that's why he took such an extreme and cautious approach. Although he knew that he was risking his life, it seemed like he underestimated the emperor's power. 1,000 years had passed but the emperor was still kicking. Lin Feng's mental health and soul were taking a lot of damage. At the same time, the emperor was releasing even more imperial qi. His vital organs were strong and full of vitality, as if he had never died. Corrosion, shouted Lin Feng furiously. His black fire became larger, he was determined to destroy the emperor's organs. Drops of blood started spilling, each drop of blood contained an incredible amount of vigor and vitality. They would ignite as they came into contact with Lin Feng's black fire and vanish. Burn, burn, burn. Lin Feng sounded fearless, his voice sounded like a sharp sword. Corrosion. Lin Feng wanted to corrode the emperor's vital organs. Why? Boom boom boom, the jade hull started shaking violently again, even more violently than it had until now. Stop him, we must stop him, the East Sea Dragon Palace were becoming frantic. Kill him, shouted the Jade Heaven's young cultivators while throwing themselves at him. Piss off, shouted Huang Fu Long while jumping to the front of the myriad of enemies. He took down his dragon axe and a dragon image appeared, swallowing the first enemy to approach. Snowflakes started fluttering around in the atmosphere as some Tian Qi cultivators were releasing snow intent in the hall. They all have treasures, you cannot defeat them with direct confrontation. Duan Wuya said indifferently. Huang Fu Long and his friends all possess treasures, coupled with the few people from Tian Qi, their group was quite strong. What is your suggestion? Asked Ao Jiao. Let's get behind the emperor and avoid Lin Feng's guards. Duan Wuya said coldly. Ao Jiao narrowed his eyes and looked at Duan Wuya straight in the eyes. That guy was quite sly, his ability to come up with new plots and vicious ideas was endless. Boom! A terrifying chi appeared as two silhouettes entered the Jade Emperor's hall. One of them had a terrifying and extremely sharp sword intent. It was Kong Jiuyi, the young leader of the Nine Cloud Sword sect. Ao Jiao also recognized the other one, it was the young leader of the Xiaoyao sect, Gu Qianqiu. What's going on? Kong Jiuyi asked Ao Jiao. There are treasures which have been discovered and he wants to destroy the emperor's internal organs to get them, replied Ao Jiao. Without hesitation, Kong Jiuyi and Gu Qianqiu threw themselves at Lin Feng. Why aren't you helping them? Kong Jiuyi was suspicious of Ao Jiao's intentions. None of them are weak and cannot beat them. It's a good thing that you two guys arrived so we can fight together. Ao Jiao said. Kong Jiuyi turned his head around and looked at the battle. He then threw himself at Lin Feng while was releasing massive amounts of sword qi. His entire body seemed as sharp as a sword. Yu Tianji sensed the surge of sword qi. He took a step forwards and blocked Kong Jiuye's way. He then spread his arms and 7 indestructible and dazzling stars appeared. CRR. The terrifying sword qi landed on the starlights, broke through them and continued onward towards Yu Tianji. Yu Tianji remained calm as a crescent moon appeared and the sword crashed into it. Unlike before, the attack seemed to crash into moving sands. Kong Jiuyi was surprised by the crescent moon's strength. It had to be a powerful treasure to block his sword so easily. A storm of deadly energy started rolling in waves all around as sword qi revolved in the form of whirlwinds. Yu Tianji spread out his arm and starlights appeared in his hand which immediately shot out towards Kong Jiuyi, oppressing him. Rumbling sounds became more intense as the stars neared Kong Jiuyi. At the same time, Gu Qianqiu used the Xiaoyao agility technique. He turned into several silhouettes and targeted only Lin Feng. Back, said Tang Yuyu while running in front of Lin Feng. Her golden jade imperial crown turned into a sharp sword that darted towards Gu Qianqiu. Humph! Gu Qianqiu groaned and pushed his agility further, several more silhouettes appeared. He wanted to avoid any confrontations and go straight for Lin Feng. Tang Yuyu also groaned as she turned into a million silhouettes which surrounded Lin Feng. She set off a million punches at Gu Qianqiu. At that moment, sweat dripped off Lin Feng's eyebrows. The corrosive power in his hand became increasingly more terrifying. The emperor's vital organs were too strong, Lin Feng could only manage to weaken him, drop by drop. Lin Feng turned his left hand into a sword and cut into his right hand. His blood started flowing in the emperor's organs, slowly replaced by Lin Feng's blood. The vitality of the emperor's blood was thus being replaced by that of Lin Feng's. Meanwhile, the entire palace was shaking so much that it was difficult to stand straight. Chapter 8:15, Come Out. Buzz. A buzzing sound spread in the air as a dazzling light appeared, the crowd felt oppressed. Meanwhile, Ao Jiao and Duan Wuya snuck behind the crowd and approached the emperor from behind. I'll attack first, said Duan Wuya. Ao Jiao nodded in agreement. He looked at the emperor's silhouette with cold twinkling lights in his eyes. The gloomy gourd appeared and a terrifying gloomy qi penetrated into it. Then the gourd released a terrifying gloomy qi that assaulted emperor's silhouette. Boom boom. It crashed onto the emperor but a terrifying imperial qi emerged. His gloomy qi couldn't penetrate the emperor's body without immediately vanishing like smoke. Duan Wuya was stupefied. It was of no use. He had broken through to the 9th qi layer and possessed the gloomy gourd, but his energies were destroyed easily. Even more so, the emperor's silhouette hadn't moved at all. Let me try. Ao Jiao stepped in front of Duan Wuya and released some terrifying flood dragon energies. The dragon roared and attacked the emperor. Actually, Ao Jiao wanted to see what Lin Feng was facing when attacking the emperor's vital organs. If Lin Feng tried to destroy the emperor's vital organs, so why wouldn't Ao Jiao? Boom! He attacked the emperor from behind but had the impression that he struck a metal wall. He wasn't able to budge the emperor in the slightest. Ao Jiao felt stiff as his flood dragon roared again and attacked the emperor again, but as before nothing happened. He was the great Ao Jiao but couldn't make the emperor move of a single iota, but Lin Feng used his fire and managed to penetrate the emperor's body. Even worse, he was damaging the emperor. How strong was Lin Feng really? He turned around and read the scriptures on the walls but couldn't understand anything. Lin Feng had learnt that incredible skill from the scriptures on the walls. It had to be that skill that gave him the advantage. Boom boom, boom boom. Both the emperor and the palace were shaking more violently. It was difficult to stand steady, only Lin Feng remained perfectly immobile and steady. Corrosion, corrosion. Lin Feng condensed his full strength in his hands and held the emperor's organs even tighter. Finally, the emperor's internal organs were becoming weaker. It almost seemed like Lin Feng was going to take them out. The Jade Emperor's heart is mine. Lin Feng opened his eyes. He looked like an all-conquering warlord. The rumbling sounds and psychedelic lights finally ceased. The emperor's internal organs were finally failing. The Jade Emperor's heart fully drained. Boom boom boom. People felt sick, they might faint even. Everyone in the palace felt this way, not just those in the hall. People were collapsing one after the other. Soon after, some people were looking at them. They were extremely strong and belonged to powerful and influential groups. Everyone had left the mysterious world. They were now at the entrance to the mysterious world. Everyone was surprised. What was going on? What was happening? They had never heard of such a thing, people coming out of the mysterious world at the same time, completely stunned and confused. What had really happened? Could it be that the emperor's grave had appeared? The leader of the Jade Heaven group was excited. He knew what had happened. The emperor's grave had been discovered. Huang Feng. Where is Huang Feng? He was frantically glancing around but couldn't find Huang Feng. Huang Feng had the Jade Emperor's palace map. Hopefully he received the Jade Emperor's teachings. Duan Wu Dao. He walked towards Duan Wu Dao. Only Huang Feng wasn't present, which gave him hope. Had Huang Feng really received the emperor's teachings and instructions? Where is Huang Feng? He asked Duan Wu Dao. Duan Wu Dao and the others raised their heads. They didn't look very good. Huang Feng died, said Duan Wu Dao. They were stunned. What? Huang Feng died? What happened? They looked devastated. The emperor's palace appeared, said Duan Wu Dao, making people shiver. It really happened. This time, it had happened. But Huang Feng died with the emperor's palace map. They would need to find someone to replace him. Did you find the Jade Emperor's hall? He continued questioning Duan Wu Dao. That was a crucial point. Duan Wu Dao nodded. Who obtained the Jade Emperor's teachings? He asked in a louder voice than before. I don't know. In the end, Lin Feng used a power to corrode the emperor's vital organs, and then we appeared here, said Duan Wu Dao. Corroded the emperor's organs? Lin Feng, again Lin Feng. How audacious. Lin Feng dared to corrode the Jade Emperor's internal organs, but Lin Feng wasn't that strong. How had he managed to do that? And what about the emperor's instructions and teachings? Did Huang Feng manage to enter the Jade Emperor's hall? He did. He was the first one to enter, but he didn't find anything. The others thought that he had, so they attacked him, but in the end Lin Feng killed Huang Feng. Lin Feng again. The strong cultivators from Jade Heaven were going insane. Their eyes were filled with hatred and murderous intentions. Not only them but also the golden purple dragon king was upset. Lin Feng was quite audacious. Those influential and powerful groups were trying to find their disciples. Unfortunately, only a few people managed to cross the Permitha Bridge and entered the Jade Emperor's Hall. But at least they obtained many items, especially intent crystals. Concerning the groups of influence which managed to enter the Jade Emperor's Hall, everyone was staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng actually assaulted the Jade Emperor. At that moment, Lin Feng and the others from Tianqi arrived next to the 7 eagles. The snow eagles didn't ask much, just, did everyone obtain something? Many people nodded looking excited. The 7 snow eagles nodded as well. It seemed like this time, the trip to the mysterious world was successful for Tianqi, especially for those Tianxian cultivators who followed Lin Feng. Tang Yuyu was wearing a magnificent golden cape, Jun Mo she also had a magnificent golden robe, Huang Fu Long had an incredible dragon axe, all of those were highly valuable treasures. Tianqi could be proud of those young cultivators. Chapter 8:16, One Hand, How Audacious. You dare to steal our Jade Heaven's treasures, someone screamed extremely loudly. That voice was so loud that it pierced through people's eardrums. A strong cultivator from Jade Heaven appeared in front of the Tianqi group and was shouting at Tang Yuyu. Tang Yuyu was wearing their precious jade golden crown, just in another shape. Everybody started getting agitated and excited about a potential fight. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the person in the sky. Lin Feng had a powerful soul and the Heaven Eye skill which enabled him to determine other people's level. That person had broken through to the first Tianqi layer. That crown belongs to the Jade Heaven Imperial clan. I heard that you killed Huang Feng in order to get it, said that person coldly while releasing some powerful qi. You are right, indeed I killed Huang Feng and stole that crown. In the mysterious world, people kill others in order to gain precious treasures. I killed Huang Feng and stole his treasure and he couldn't protect himself because he was a piece of trash. Is that the reason why you are yelling? To tell everyone how shitty the young cultivators of Jade Heaven are. Lin Feng's voice was sharp. Lin Feng didn't look scared at all. He had received the 4 emperors' instructions and corroded the great emperor's heart. To Lin Feng, a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer was nothing. Little brat. You think that you are a genius and show no respect for your elders, shouted that person furiously while releasing a terrifying qi, capable of suppressing people's souls. An elder? You think quite highly of yourself, said Lin Feng mockingly before adding, just piss off, I'm giving you some good advice. Don't stay here and humiliate yourself. If you are looking for trouble, at least, you should learn how to speak properly. How audacious. I've never seen such an insane and impetuous young man. I will show you that you should respect cultivators of the Tianqi layer, a cultivator of the Xianqi layer cannot do anything against someone like me. That person was suddenly surrounded by an imperial qi which targeted Lin Feng. It was terrifying, his hair was fluttering in the wind and the qi was whistling. Fuck off. A terrifying feral qi dashed to the skies in the form of a tornado. The opponent quickly retreated in the sky. Do you think you can bully Tianqi's people as you wish? One of the snow eagles pissed off. It's your fault, doesn't Tianqi educate its young cultivators? He's too conceited, so I will help teach your cultivators some manners. That person wasn't backing down. Teach me manners. Lin Feng was smiling coldly. He stood up and jumped and rose up in the sky. Eh? The crowd was astonished. What was Lin Feng doing? Lin Feng, shouted the snow eagle. Cultivators of the Xianqi layer were indeed far from being able to defeat cultivators of the Tianqi layer, the difference was too vast. The snow eagle hoped Lin Feng would stay safe. I am going to teach him some manners. Lin Feng said back to the snow eagle. Immediately after, he looked at the Jade Heaven man and said, Elder, would you still teach me some manners? He released some supreme sword chi which dashed to the skies and whistled stridently. It was like a storm moving towards the enemy. Level 7 sword intent. The crowd was astonished. What a terrifying young man. He hadn't broken through to the Tian Chi layer but could already use level 7 intent. What a genius. Other geniuses felt small before him. The Tian level cultivator from Jade Heaven was astonished as well. Level 7 sword int net, what an accomplishment. He could sense the chi and it scared him. A million swords condensed in front of Lin Feng, who turned himself into a sword and darted forward with incredible speed. Elder, it is time for your first lesson. The million swords condensed and turned into one. It contained an incredibly supreme chi, absolutely brutal. The million swords became one. It hadn't reached the opponent yet, but he already felt like he was going to be cut in half. The strong Jade Heaven cultivator joined his hands together and looked solemn. The sword skill was extremely powerful and on top of that held level 7 sword intent. A terrifying imperial chi rolled in the atmosphere. A dragon seemingly appeared to defend against the sword. Some sound spread in the air as the sword chi cut through the imperial chi, surprising the crowd. The imperial chi quickly disappeared. What a strong elder! Lin Feng said mockingly. Lin Feng's sword chi hadn't lost its spirit yet and continued on to that cultivator. The Tian level cultivator roared aggressively while releasing his soul strength at Lin Feng. However, it was as if it had crashed into an ocean. It immediately dispersed and disappeared inside Lin Feng. Lin Feng stretched out his hand from which a black fire appeared which seemed capable of melting anything. You have broken through to the Tian Chi layer, how awesome, said Lin Feng, whose gigantic hand gained on his enemy. The enemy blocked the attack, but that black hand was too powerful and directly crashed onto his body. The fire was flickering in the wind as the enemy's body did not even leave ashes. He's dead. The crowd was aghast, their hearts started pounding. Had a cultivator of the Tian Chi layer just been killed by Lin Feng with a single attack? A Xian-level cultivator killing a Tian-level cultivator so easily, that was both impressive and astonishing. Lin Feng was standing in the sky and looked peerless, brutal, cruel. Were Tian-level cultivators all that strong? Surprisingly, he wanted to teach Lin Feng lesson and was killed with a single attack. Who could have predicted that outcome? How brutal. That guy is simply terrifying. Thought Huang Fu Long speechless. That guy killed a Tian-level cultivator in one attack. Killing that cultivator of the Tian Chi layer was seemingly as easy as killing a cultivator of the Xian Chi layer. The 7 snow eagles were just as surprised by Lin Feng. Even though they had always known how strong Lin Feng was, they had never thought that he would reach such heights so quickly. All the Jade Heaven people were pulling hideously long faces. Lin Feng turned his head and looked at the people from Jade Heaven while saying in a cold and detached way, in the mysterious world, fighting and killing people is normal. But here, you can't offend someone without seeking the wrath from their group, perhaps a great war could arise. If I were you, I wouldn't seek excuses to start a fight with me now. The Jade Heaven's leader was staring at Lin Feng, his eyes were filled with murder. He smiled in a cold way and said, indeed, no need to find lame excuses. You violated the Emperor's vital organs and after that, everybody was kicked out of the Emperor's palace. Doesn't that mean that you obtained the great Emperor's treasures? Instantly, everybody was looking at Lin Feng. Many people who initially didn't know suddenly understood. Lin Feng was too cruel. He might be a genius, but that didn't mean he was a saint. If you were an emperor, would you let other people violate your vital organs, take them and then let them offer your organs to others? Do you think that your ancestor, the Jade Emperor, was so stupid, said Lin Feng mockingly. The Jade Heaven people wanted everybody to fight against Lin Feng, but he wouldn't let things happen that way. We are the ones who found the Jade Emperor's hall, but the first ones to get inside were from Jade Heaven because the Jade Emperor was your ancestor. He created the Jade Emperor's hall for Jade Heaven's people, his offspring. Your dream has always been to find his grave, right? Besides, there were many cultivators from Jade Heaven in the mysterious world, who would believe them if they said they had obtained nothing. Nobody. Maybe one of them has even received the instructions and teachings of the great emperor and is hiding them from everybody now, said Lin Feng, raising ideas in others' heads. Chapter 8:17, Why the Jade Emperor's Heart. The crowd was suddenly feeling doubtful. They were lost in their thoughts as Lin Feng continued speaking. There is something else that you forgot to mention. After Jade Heaven's people entered the Emperor's palace, the entire mysterious world started shaking violently. Besides, Jade Heaven's people wanted to block the entry to the palace so that everybody would die outside. It was us, people from Tianqi, who prevented the door from closing. But all in all, many young geniuses died outside, said Lin Feng calmly. Many eyes were now on the Jade Heaven group. Amongst them, someone shouted, Jade Heaven has been deceiving people over and over again for so many years. They entered the mysterious world with the help of every influential group in the Ganyu region. Everybody was supposed to join hands to find the Emperor's grave, but they wanted to enter the palace on their own while letting our people die outside. Those from Jade Heaven really have no morals or principles. How cruel. Everybody was staring at the people from Jade Heaven. Our young leader was killed in the mysterious world, how could they have possibly found treasures? I don't think so, said the leader of Jade Heaven, glancing at the crowd. He then turned back to Lin Feng and said, Everybody, listen to me, the last thing that happened was him stealing the Emperor's heart. This is what triggered everybody's expulsion out of the mysterious world. Imagine how powerful the Emperor's heart must be, maybe it contains incredible treasures, otherwise, would such incredible events have transpired? I advise you to, at least, make him take the Emperor's heart out. Nobody knew who to believe here. Who had obtained the most precious treasures? Lin Feng or someone from Jade Heaven? Let me talk. In the end, we, people from the East Sea Dragon Palace, were in the palace. For the time being, let's not talk about the fact that Jade Heaven's people cheated us, we can settle accounts later. However, Lin Feng really did corrode the Emperor's organs. Kong Jiu Yi from the Nine Cloud Sword sect and Gu Qianqiu from the Xiaoyao sect can confirm that. I am almost 100% sure that Lin Feng obtained some heaven-defying treasures, said Duan Wuya, looking at Lin Feng and his friends in a gloomy way. He then continued, besides, apart from Lin Feng who obtained the great Emperor's heart, all the others from the Tianqi group obtained extremely powerful and precious treasures, even the Xiaoyao agility technique ended up in that girl's hands, I've seen her use it. Those treasures come from the Zun cultivators' underground palaces. They are extremely powerful and I am convinced that even strong Tian-level cultivators don't possess such powerful treasures. Duan Wuya was trying to paint a bad image of Lin Feng and his friends. Everybody was staring at them greedily. Apart from the Emperor's heart, they had obtained other treasures. Hee. Our elite disciples should make them hand over the Emperor's heart and the other treasures, said the Purple Golden Dragon King, following Duan Wuya. The Tianqi group benefited the most from the mysterious world experience. Did they think that they could get away with it and leave like that? Everybody had greatly benefited from the mysterious world experience. The Jade Emperor's grave appeared, the mysterious world collapsed, and some people obtained Zun-level items. Unfortunately, those group's Zun cultivators didn't know these details, otherwise they would have rushed over there and taken the Zun-level items for themselves. You killed our Jade Heaven's people, you stole our crown and flaunted in front of us, someone from Jade Heaven said and immediately landed in front of the group of Tianqi people. You stole our Xiaoyao agility technique, how audacious, someone from the Xiaoyao sect said as they landed next to them as well. I've also heard that you killed some people from the East Sea Dragon Palace, All those people belonging to various groups of influence were looking for an excuse to gather in front of the Tianqi people, gradually surrounding them. The others were strong as well. Silhouettes were flickering one after the other. Everybody was surrounding them, they all wanted to get something as well, the Zun cultivator's treasures, the Jade Emperor's heart, everybody was dreaming of obtaining such treasures, especially the Emperor's heart. The 7 snow eagles from Tianqi remained silent, disasters and rewards came hand in hand. Tianqi obtained wonderful treasures which in itself was a cause for celebration, but now everybody wanted to attack them and steal their treasures. Everybody, do you want to create a war between clans, sects, and empires? It looks like you want to start a fight when you surround us like this, one of the snow eagles said coldly. He then added in a voice as cold as before, don't forget that the Tianqi Empire has never been disrespected by others. Why so serious? Tianqi obtained such great treasures, don't be too greedy, let us have some of them. Also, let everybody have a look at the Emperor's heart, a strong cultivator from Jade Heaven said, offered indifferently. Those influential groups had always attempted to maintain a fair level of peace, they couldn't let strong tensions arise between them. If they did and a great war started, the results would be too tragic. Those Tian-level cultivators couldn't handle facing those consequences. Indeed, we don't mean to offend the Tianqi Empire, you just obtained too many treasures. We're also curious to see Emperor's heart, the purple golden dragon king continued to play along. How shameless, shouted Huang Fulong furiously. After doing all those things, you still dare say you don't want to offend Tianqi, you're really shameless. Shut the hell up! Shouted the purple golden dragon king furiously, staring at Huang Fulong, who allowed you to open your mouth, little boy. Phew! Huang Fulong sighed with rage while glaring at the purple golden dragon king. Hurry up now, everybody is waiting, said the purple golden dragon king. Everybody got closer to the group of people from Tianqi. If Lin Feng and his friends didn't hand over the treasures, they would attack and steal them for themselves. What if we don't give you anything, said Lin Feng indifferently while glancing back at the crowd. If you don't hand over anything, we'll attack. Of course, when fighting, sometimes tragedies are inevitable. People from the Tianqi Empire cannot blame us for that, the purple golden dragon king enjoyed answering his question. In other words, you want to kill us, right? Said Lin Feng smiling as well, he was fearless. I didn't say such a thing, said the Dragon King, not admitting what he said, but evil lights were twinkling in his eyes. He was tacitly confirming Lin Feng's words. Okay. You want the Emperor's heart, let me take it out. Lin Feng suddenly became flexible. They all became impatient because Lin Feng was willing to take out the Emperor's heart now. Of course, you've made the right decision, the Dragon King had a smile on his face. Everybody, move back at least 1,000 meters and open a way for us, nobody should stop us from leaving. Then I will put the Emperor's heart on the ground, said Lin Feng. People glanced at each other. It seemed like Lin Feng was scared of dying to them. Of course, they had so many people and 1,000 meters was nothing, so Lin Feng would probably be unable to escape. The crowd gradually moved away of at least 1,000 meters. In the middle, there was only Lin Feng and the people from Tianqi, nobody was threatening them now. You go first, as far as possible, said Lin Feng to the people from Tianqi. Nobody knew what Lin Feng was planning. No, how could we abandon you, said Tang Yuyu. Don't worry, relax. Just leave it to me, if you do, I have a solution to protect myself. Trust me. Lin Feng encouraged her calmly. Tang Yuyu looked at Lin Feng's eyes and nodded. If Lin Feng said so, then it meant he really had something in mind. Okay, we'll go first. Please be careful, the snow eagles said, turning into animals again. The whole group then rose up in the air and left. The others watched as the snow eagles left, their eyes were filled with murderous intentions. However, nobody attacked at that moment. They were very far from Tianqi, so they could wait for Lin Feng to hand over the Emperor's heart and then they would chase and kill them. Lin Feng looked at his group leave and smiled. He then glanced at the crowd and immediately a heart appeared in his hand, the Emperor's heart. Come and take it, said Lin Feng, throwing the heart at the East Sea Dragon Palace people. At the same time, he ran back with his greatest speed. Boom! Boom boom! Monstrous amounts of qi emerged in the atmosphere. Everybody was throwing themselves at the people from the East Sea Dragon Palace, who would grab the emperor's heart first. Lin Feng turned into an arrow and ran away with incredible speed. He just observed all those people gathering and fighting. A radiant smile appeared on his face. Boom! Qi kept exploding in the atmosphere. Terrifying sounds were sounding constantly as a lot of people were starting to bleed or were coughing up blood. In the horizon, a vast palace appeared. It contained imperial qi and looked domineering. It was the Jade Emperor's palace. Chapter 8:18, All Inside. The vast palace appeared propelling everybody backwards. Astonishment had replaced pain in their brain. The great Emperor's palace, that's the Emperor's palace. The Tian-level cultivators couldn't contain themselves when they sensed the qi emerging out of the palace. They could see the Emperor's palace. What's inside? Asked many people to their younger disciples. If they came out alive, it meant that they had entered the palace. Many treasures, intent crystals, abstruse crystals and many halls which were locked to us, replied the young cultivators one after the other. The Tian-level cultivators suddenly felt extremely excited. In the past, they were unable to enter the palace and could only send Xian-level cultivators into it. There were many other treasures as well. What did those locked halls contain? Those Xian-level cultivators were unable to enter those halls, but what about Tian-level cultivators? Everybody was going insane. They were very impatient to see what those mysterious locked halls contained. Nonetheless, there were also some people who were less excited and remained both calm and detached. Why? Why had the palace appeared? The Emperor's heart. The crowd was stupefied. Lin Feng took out the Emperor's heart and in a flash it turned into a vast palace blowing them away. The people from Jade Heaven were pulling a long face. They didn't know that the Jade Emperor's heart was a palace. They had heard from their ancestors that kneeling 3 times and kowtowing 9 times before the Emperor was enough to receive his teachings and instructions. It seemed like they had received some bad information. Lin Feng, where is Lin Feng? People from Jade Heaven started running towards the location where Lin Feng was standing a moment before, but he had already disappeared. Where had he gone? What do we do now? The people from Jade Heaven looked at the vast and desolate area. They looked back at the vast palace again. They were all confused and excited at the same time. Should they enter or not? Lin Feng had replaced the vital fluids of the Emperor's heart with his own and that heart was the Emperor's palace. Didn't that mean the palace actually belonged to Lin Feng now? If they entered Lin Feng's palace, what would it bring them? Let's go inside, the leader from Jade Heaven decided. Even if it was dangerous, they couldn't pass up such an opportunity. Some groups came up with the idea to leave some Tian-level cultivators outside of the palace. Even though nobody was willing to stay outside, they had to in case Lin Feng came back and put the palace away. Those who stood guard outside would be able to kill him and steal the Emperor's heart. That way, the situation would remain perfectly safe at all times. Of course, some of those guards couldn't help themselves and secretly entered the palace. At that moment, outside of the palace, Duan Wuya's eyes were twinkling. He didn't enter the palace because he had known Lin Feng for a long time and knew that Lin Feng, with his temperament, wouldn't hand the Emperor's heart over that easily. He was completely convinced that Lin Feng was controlling the Jade Emperor's palace somehow. Duan Wuya was jealous. Not only was Lin Feng a genius but he was also very lucky. Surprisingly, he had obtained the Emperor's palace on top of his previous achievements. All the treasures in the palace now belonged to him. It must be that wall, thought Duan Wuya recalling the carvings on the walls. He had been unable to understand them. Lin Feng was the only one who understood the carvings in the wall. It's not that easy to obtain the treasures inside the palace, whispered Duan Wuya. So many Tian-level geniuses had just entered the palace, it was useless for Duan Wuya to enter. Besides, he knew how smart Lin Feng was. People in the palace were going insane, especially those from Jade Heaven. Those who had already been inside were leading the way, running towards the Jade Emperor's hall. They wanted to see the Jade Emperor and find his teachings. When they finally made it to the hall though, they found that the Jade Emperor's body wasn't there. The Jade Emperor's hall was completely empty. You said that Lin Feng studied the carvings on the walls first and then studied the skill and stole the Emperor's heart. Where exactly did that happen? Asked the leader of the group. Everybody just pointed at the mysterious scriptures on the walls. The leader walked around inspecting the walls and shivered. What powerful words! According to the legends, nobody can understand the demoniac emperor's writings. Could those have been written by him? Whispered the leader of the Jade Heaven group. But why would Lin Feng understand the demoniac emperor's words then? Could it be that Lin Feng and the demoniac emperor were related? At that moment, he was realizing that the demoniac emperor of the legends and Lin Feng seemed similar. They were all insufferably arrogant, despised the entire world, and once in a while entered a frenzy which only ended with blood. They were fearless. Lin Feng really resembled the demoniac emperor of the legends. Outside of the palace, in the very horizon, there was someone on the ground. His long robe was fluttering in the wind. He walked towards the palace, looking calm and detached. Lin Feng, somebody gazed into the distance and saw Lin Feng walking back. Lin Feng was walking neither slow nor fast. He gazed at the people in the distance as well as at the palace. He didn't look worried at all. Finally, he arrived near the palace and looked at the people next to it. He smiled coldly and said, "You want me to die and you want to steal my palace. That's no problem, I will allow you to spend plenty of time in it." After that, Lin Feng shook his hand as terrifying rumbling sounds spread in the atmosphere. The boundless palace turned into a heart and immediately flew back into his hand. Those who had thought it through earlier were lucky. Lin Feng had replaced the blood in the heart with his own and gained ownership. Everything inside the palace was his. The emperor's heart was the emperor's palace and Lin Feng could now control it freely. Were the people inside going to be stuck inside forever? There were more than 20 people standing outside with Lin Feng. Many of them were cultivators of the Tian Qi layer. They all threw themselves at Lin Feng, their eyes were filled with murderous intentions. "You really want to kill me?" Lin Feng said, smirking slightly. They looked perplexed as they stared at Lin Feng coldly. Of course they wanted to kill him. Did you ever think that if you obtained the heart, the people inside would be under your control? Their lives would be in your hands and you would gain a lot of power, said Lin Feng. His words sounded really tempting. Chapter 8:19, The Palace's Explosive Power. Humph, we won't fall for your trickeries this time. The crowd was glaring at Lin Feng. They would love to have the power Lin Feng spoke of, but if they wanted to obtain the Emperor's heart, they had to kill him. Lin Feng had to die. How could they control the Emperor's heart, the palace, if Lin Feng was still alive? I know what the problem is. You don't know if you should kill me or steal the Emperor's heart first, said Lin Feng with an indifferent smile on his face. He stretched out his arms and the Emperor's heart appeared again. He then threw it and said, "You can choose, you can kill me first, but then the heart won't belong to you anymore, someone else will take control of it." The Emperor's heart. Those people narrowed their eyes and threw themselves at the heart. Strong cultivators joined sects, clans and other influential groups to become stronger. At that moment, they had a great opportunity to become stronger, the opportunity to obtain the Emperor's palace. With it they would be able to surpass the strongest cultivators. Who cared about the sect or the clan if one could obtain such a treasure? Those who entered the palace did it willingly, just like those who decided to stay outside. Boom! Fuck off! A terrifying qi emerged. Those Tian-level cultivators started fighting, their qi created a storm in the area and whistling sounds pierced eardrums. The ground was shaking violently. Everybody had only one thing in mind, the emperor's heart. At that moment, Lin Feng was standing there, calmly. He silently observed the insane battle as if it had nothing to do with him. They noticed that Lin Feng wasn't leaving, so they continued fighting over the emperor's heart. If they could obtain the emperor's heart and then kill Lin Feng, the palace would belong to them. Duan Wuya was quite far on the other side, he hadn't left either. He was watching those Tian-level cultivators battling. Lin Feng had matured since he first met him. He was able to set up plots and manipulate others. Coupled with his incredible talent and abilities, he was a large threat. A glacial light appeared around Duan Wuya's body, making him feel very cold. That coldness was piercing to the bones. Duan Wuya knew that Lin Feng wanted to kill him, but he wouldn't give him the opportunity to do so. Killing Duan Wuya wouldn't be that easy. Die, shouted an ice-cold voice. A hand then penetrated into a Tian-level cultivator's body and blood splashed all around. A Tian-level cultivator just died, however, the emperor's heart was, as before, on the ground. You will die too. A sharp sword-emitting whistling sounds immediately crashed into that person's back. After killing that person, the sword started vibrating and cut up the enemy's body further. Then the person turned around and released some terrifying sword lights which immediately cut another person's hand. The emperor's heart is mine, they were crazed. That person used an agility technique to grab the emperor's heart. Someone from Xiaoyao, the crowd was surprised. The one with the sword was still fast, their sword was lacerating the air around them. Bzzzzz. The person from Xiaoyao used another agility technique and turned into a few dozen shadows. Each shadow looked like a real body, it seemed that they mastered the technique to perfection. Crrr. The terrifying sword chi immediately chopped a dozen shadows. However, the other shadows were still running towards the emperor's heart. Stop. More rumbling sounds spread in the air. A powerful hand fell to the ground, that hand was the size of a large mountain, capable of crushing everything underneath it. Another dozen shadows disappeared in a flash. A silhouette streaked across the sky as the emperor's heart disappeared. The Xiaoyao person's shadows all target Lin Feng now. If they managed to kill Lin Feng, they would take control of the emperor's heart. How fast? Lin Feng was praising the Xiaoyao cultivator. Lin Feng looked expressionless, but in his heart, he was a bit surprised. That agility technique was incredible, it was the real Xiaoyao agility technique, graceful, agile and possessed a subtle power. A hand appeared and made an attempt on Lin Feng's life. The atmosphere was shaking and things seemed like they were going to explode. That cultivator wanted to kill Lin Feng with one attack. Boom! The emperor's heart turned into a palace again and fell onto the ground in the blink of an eye. The Xiaoyao cultivator who held the heart was propelled so far away that nobody knew where he landed. The ones who were fighting for the heart were also propelled away. Lin Feng motioned again and the emperor's heart turned into a heart again and fell from the sky. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered as he grabbed the heart. He looked in the horizon and saw some people coughing mouthfuls of blood. Lin Feng smiled mockingly and said, "You guys are really dumb." If they had decided to try and kill him first when he threw the heart, the others would have had the opportunity to steal the heart and escape. Therefore, they had decided to steal the heart first and then kill Lin Feng. Unfortunately, they had forgotten that Lin Feng could control the emperor's heart. Even if they stole the heart, was it helpful? Lin Feng could make the heart turn into a palace and vice versa as he wished. Some people were struggling, crawling on the ground, all pulling long faces. Their silhouettes flickered as they came back for Lin Feng. Their facial expressions looked hideous. Lin Feng was playing around with them, just like toys. They now realized that as long as Lin Feng controlled the heart, he could make it turn into the palace as he wished and send them flying. No wonder Lin Feng was fearless, it was because he already thought through all the scenarios. Do you understand now? Lin Feng was smiling, adding, do you still want the Emperor's heart? Let's attack him together and kill him. Those Tian-level cultivators glanced at each other and understood what they had to do. The only solution was to join hands, kill Lin Feng and then steal the heart. Die! Die, die! Furious voices were echoing one after the other in the vast area. Lin Feng was thousands of meters away but could still sense their murderous intentions. A sword started dazzling even though it was thousands of meters. The Xiaoyao cultivator started moving faster and faster, another series of shadows appeared in the air. They all looked exactly the same as him. Boom boom boom. Terrifying collision sounds resonated. A terrifying oppressive energy invaded the atmosphere. In a flash, they were very near Lin Feng. However, just as quickly, they were thrown away again and crashed into the ground. The faster they were, the more brutal the shocks. Lin Feng was still immobile. He looked calm and serene. He was staring at the silhouettes covered by blood in the distance. A bunch of morons. Shall we continue? Lin Feng sounded perfectly calm while watching those people crawling on the ground. He looked like he wanted to burst out in laughter because of their stupidity. Indeed, he was really playing with them like a kid with their toys. The palace was an incredible weapon. With that palace, who could kill him? The Tian-level cultivators stood up again, pulling long faces. All those Tian-level cultivators couldn't stand being made fun of, they were furious. You have to die. Those people glanced at each other's. They didn't need to talk, they understood each other. If Lin Feng didn't die, they would go back to their sect or clan and everybody would know about their failure. Lin Feng had to die. They would chase him until the ends of the earth. Even the Tian Qi Empire was unable to protect Lin Feng. Let's go, some people said while rising up in the air. They wanted to leave. Lin Feng glanced at those people and smiled coldly, go. You failed to kill me and now you want to leave? Lin Feng jumped up in the sky with incredible speed, his entire body was surrounded by terrifying energies. Nobody is leaving, you're going to die. Lin Feng then turned into a hurricane and shot out at the Tian-level cultivators. From the Emperor's heart, an infinite amount of imperial qi emerged. Terrifying rumbling sounds spread in the air as the palace appeared again and fell down from the sky. The ground shook so violently that it seemed like there was an earthquake. A palace falling from the sky and crashing into the ground, how terrifying was that? A gigantic fissure appeared in the ground and many small ones appeared all around it. Chapter 820, Fighting Beasts. Just as quickly as it appeared, the palace disappeared again. There was a gigantic fissure in the ground and several corpses. They had all died from the weight of the palace. They wanted to escape. Would Lin Feng let them off that easily? Lin Feng, threatened by all those influential groups, risked his life to let his comrades from Tian Qi leave. He decided to stay there alone and face those people. Besides, he was forced to use the power of the Emperor's heart, therefore, he had to kill all those who had seen it. Lin Feng could control the palace and nobody knew how many treasures were inside. If the news spread, it would draw everyone's attention in the Ganyu region and the strongest cultivators would come to Lin Feng's front door trying to kill him. Zun cultivators would attach plenty of importance to what happened in the mysterious world this time because the Emperor's grave appeared. Cultivators had been going there for hundreds of years but the grave never appeared. If the news spread, the same thing that happened to the great emperor would happen to Lin Feng. He would be chased and would face a dead end eventually, he would have to hide in the palace and close it off, waiting to die inside. Those who knew the palace's secret had to die. Boom! A terrifying sword chi dashed to the skies. The strong cultivator of the Nine-Cloud Sword sect hadn't died. He emerged out of the ground and at the same time glanced at Lin Feng coldly. His eyes were filled with murder. Fortunately, he acted fast and dived into the ground where he was mostly protected from the impact. However, his vital organs were damaged and he almost died. Even if we can't kill you, don't think that you can kill us. You might be a genius but you won't be able to keep the palace a secret. Everyone will know about it and they will kill you, the cultivator from the Nine-Cloud Sword sect said while coughing mouthfuls of blood. His tone of speech was cold. He released sword chi and made a hole in the ground. He wanted to escape using an underground road. I can't kill you guys. Lin Feng was still smiling. He moved his left hand and in a flash, a snowy tower appeared. Inside the tower was an incredible bestial chi as if it caged incredible beasts. Snowy animals were roaring, barking etc. inside. The two strong cultivators under it didn't know what to think. Lin Feng had other treasures to fight them with. The remaining two cultivators were going insane. What a fucking bastard. They were Tian-level cultivators, they were supposed to be stronger than Lin Feng. But Lin Feng kept playing around with them and humiliating them. They were injured by Lin Feng even. They were bleeding profusely. Now, Lin Feng had even more ways to play around with them. Roar. Some terrifying sounds made the vaults of heaven tremble. The earth was crackling and huge fissures were appearing. Two terrifying beasts appeared in the air, both were gigantic. One of them was a gigantic rock, its black wings were flapping slowly. Its two eyes looked utterly frightening. That beast was a Tian-level beast. Besides, next to that rock, not far away, there was the beast which had roared and made the earth crack a moment before. Its chi was explosive and rolling in waves in the atmosphere. Its entire body seemed to be filled with an infinite amount of physical strength. It was a violent bear. What terrifying beasts! Lin Feng could also control such terrifying beasts. The gigantic rock and the violent bear were staring at Lin Feng with their ice-cold-looking eyes. Their chi was rolling in the atmosphere. Kill those two. Lin Feng ordered the beasts. The two beasts were Tian-level beasts, so of course they could understand people. However, the beasts acted like they didn't understand what Lin Feng said. They just stared back at Lin Feng with their gigantic eyes. The Great Mother had educated them, so they weren't going to attack Lin Feng. They could only obey orders. However, Lin Feng hadn't broken through to the Tian Chi layer yet. How could he give those beasts orders? Would they obey him, even if the Great Mother had given them to him? Kill those two. Lin Feng's voice sounded firm this time. The two beasts seemed to understood that they had made him furious. Roar. A monstrous chi came out of the bear's nostrils. It was still staring at Lin Feng. Okay, the rock said to Lin Feng. The rock was under Lin Feng's control. The Great Mother had put them in the tower and had given the tower to Lin Feng. If Lin Feng wanted, he could keep them inside the tower forever. They hated staying trapped in that tower. It turned its head and stared at the Xiao Yao cultivator. It flapped its wings and created a hurricane. Go! The cultivator of the Xiao Yao sect and the Nine-Cloud Sword sect were terrified. Both of them turned into rays of light as they ran off in opposite directions. The Xiao Yao cultivator was particularly fast, already a few thousand meters away. It seemed like he was following a particular pattern with his particularly graceful movements. Bzzzzzzz. A terrifying roar spread in the air, scaring the Xiao Yao cultivator from head to foot. He was fast, extremely fast, but the rock was a flying beast and speed was its strength. Nobody could imagine how fast a rock could be. Even a Xiao Yao cultivator couldn't match a rock in speed. Its claws were dazzling to the eyes. It seemed like 1,000 swords appeared in the sky and were targeting the Xiao Yao cultivator. It seemed to be one of the special abilities of the rock. Arg! The Xiao Yao cultivator was going insane as he accelerated, but those terrifying claws immediately crashed onto his head and killed him. The Xiao Yao cultivator didn't even have time to dodge. The violent bear was on the other side. Even though it wasn't as fast as the rock or even the 9-cloud sword sex cultivator, its physical strength was amazing. Even though it was running in the sky, the ground was shaking. The physical strength was so incredible that it was hurting the 9-cloud sword sex cultivator's internal organs, preventing him from moving at full speed. The terrifying beast was closing in on him, the frightening physical strength was becoming even worse. The 9-cloud sword sex cultivator turned around, his facial expression looked ice-cold. A terrifying sword chi appeared in the atmosphere. Considering the fact that he couldn't escape, he had to face the beast head-on. Die. A sharp sword appeared, it looked to be an ultimate skill. The sword immediately crashed onto the beast's body. Roar. The violent bear roared violently while looking at the sky. It punched the air with its gigantic paw, crackling sound spread in the air. The bear had broken the sword. Instantly, the 9-cloud sword sex cultivator turned deathly pale. The bear's paw contained a terrifying oppressive physical strength. Roar. The bear opened its gigantic mouth and roared again. The earth and the sky shook violently. The sword cultivator was struck by the bear's paw and died. That paw contained such a monstrous physical strength, nobody could imagine challenging it. Chapter 821, Chase and Kill. After chasing and killing those two, there was only one person left in the sky. He had witnessed everything with his own eyes and he knew almost all of Lin Feng's secrets. Duan Wuya's heart was shaking, he couldn't process all of this. Lin Feng could use the Jade Emperor's heart and imprisoned everybody. Not only that, he had a tower which possessed ferocious wild beasts. He commanded 2 beasts, a violent bear and a rock which could kill 2 Tian-level cultivators. Lin Feng's methods would make Duan Wuya shiver. Duan Wuya's heart was filled with an infinite coldness. "I thought you were going to escape," said Lin Feng indifferently. Lin Feng's calmness was terrifying, Duan Wuya could feel Lin Feng's murderous intentions in that calm and indifferent voice. "You understand that I could let anyone off but you. I will definitely kill you." "I know," said Duan Wuya smiling and nodding. "Lin Feng, you have become monstrously strong. With you around, I will never achieve inner peace." Lin Feng was confused, did Duan Wuya still think that he was going to live on? "Therefore, I will tell everybody in the world that you obtained the Jade Emperor's heart because you have to die. I will feel peaceful and reassured only if you die." Duan Wuya said as if he had understood what Lin Feng was thinking. Lin Feng frowned, Duan Wuya was surprisingly acting like he could get away. "Do you think that you will be able to escape alive?" Lin Feng asked. He didn't understand why Duan Wuya sounded so confident. Duan Wuya smiled resplendently and stretched out his arm, in his hand appeared the gloomy gourd. It appeared to be growing. After a moment Duan Wuya sat down inside the gourd. "Lin Feng, the treasures which belonged to the Zun cultivators are not as simple to understand as you imagine. Even if you obtained one, you wouldn't be able to understand it fully right away. I've been using this gourd constantly since I obtained it. It seems I forgot to tell you that the gourd is not only a weapon, it is also a flying object." Duan Wuya snickered. He condensed more pure qi as a myriad of mysterious marks appeared, holy marks. "See you," said Duan Wuya cheerfully. A dazzling light appeared and in a flash, the gourd streaked across the sky. In a flash, Dan Wuya had already traveled to the horizon. Lin Feng was stunned. No wonder that Duan Wuya had been acting so confidently. It was because he had that gloomy gourd. He was hiding the secrets of the gourd the whole time because he predicted that he would have to face Lin Feng and would have to run away if he wanted to live. Lin Feng moved his arm, rumbling sound spread in the air as the bear flew back into the tower. Then Lin Feng abruptly jumped onto the rock's back and said, "Chase him." The rock started flapping its wings and a terrifying bestial chi swamped the area. Lin Feng obtained the Jade Emperor's palace and nobody could learn about it. He had to chase and kill Duan Wuya, otherwise the news would spread and everybody in the Ganyu region would want to kill Lin Feng and steal his treasures. Duan Wuya wasn't feeling as calm and detached as he looked. Sitting in his gloomy gourd, his facial expression looked solemn and grave. Back then, Lin Feng was so much weaker than him. Duan Wuya didn't fear him at all and used to play around with him. Now, the circumstances were different. Duan Wuya couldn't act like that anymore because he was afraid of Lin Feng. Lin Feng could kill him. Just like he told Lin Feng, if Lin Feng didn't die, he would live in fear for his entire life. Duan Wuya could sense a bestial qi behind him, his heart started pounding harder. He turned his head around and saw a huge legendary rock gaining on him. It was incredibly fast, its two wings were flapping with incredible strength. It was much faster than the gourd he was riding, especially seeing how he couldn't control the gourd that well yet. He put his hands on his gourd and increased his speed. Magnificent dazzling lights were twinkling. The gourd became even more distinct as the atmosphere was shaking. In the blink of an eye, Duan Wuya disappeared into the horizon again. If Duan Wuya managed to maintain that speed, the rock wouldn't be able to catch up with him, but Duan Wuya wasn't strong enough to keep condensing pure qi at that level. In a short time, the Tian level rock started gaining on Duan Wuya again. Duan Wuya looked terrified. Damn rock! Its speed was incredible. Duan Wuya wouldn't be able to escape, it seemed. I need to reach the East Sea Dragon Palace before I use up all my pure qi reserves, thought Duan Wuya while remaining determined. As long as he could make the holy marks of the gourd shine, he could evade Lin Feng. Duan Wuya just had to maintain a certain distance between them. If Duan Wuya managed to do that and reach the East Sea Dragon Palace, then Lin Feng would definitely die. Lin Feng was standing on the back of the rock steadily. His entire body looked like a sharp sword, he was ready to attack. He just had to get close enough to Duan Wuya and he would be able to kill him. At such speeds, they had already left the vast and desolate area and entered the Ganyu region. There were 18 empires of average quality, but they also controlled many empires. Each of those 18 empires was extremely influential and powerful. The East Sea Empire was one of them and was boundless. It had 3 empires of lower quality under its jurisdiction, and those empires had many countries under their control. The East Sea Empire was extremely powerful, namely thanks to the East Sea Dragon Palace, which was, to a certain extent, ruling over the empire. The Dragon Palace was situated above the East Sea. It was a gigantic, imposing, lofty and magnificent island. It looked as mystical as it did magical. Amongst all the buildings, there were 5 which were particularly magnificent. 4 of them were in the north, south, east and west, making the center look incredibly vast. At that moment, in that middle building, there was a stone stage with people on it. They were playing chess, but they didn't look that motivated. They were just staring blankly at the game. Our purple golden dragon king brought those people to the mysterious world a long time ago already. Why don't we have any news from them? A middle-aged man wearing a dragon robe said, looking worried. It's probably a good thing if they are spending a long time in the mysterious world. It means they are getting treasures. You remember when we went there last time? We have their soul jewels. Even though some people died, Ao Jiao and the others are still alive, so they must still be hunting treasures, someone else said. Those who had entered the mysterious world left their soul treasures behind before entering so others could know if they were still alive or not. Even though the soul jewels of the strongest disciples hadn't broken, they were stuck in Lin Feng's palace forever.